to have it.
Welcome, everyone. This is the Wednesday, September 10th, 2025 meeting of the Expanded Budget Committee and Budget, Capital and Personnel Committee of the Tompkins County. I'll remind folks that we don't have privilege of the floor at these meetings, and we're going to hear from several departments tonight. But before that, we're going to have some opening remarks, and what we're going to have is a basic tutorial. We're going to turn to our own Norma Jane to talk to us a little bit about the budget books. Norma, whenever you're ready.
All right. Sorry about that. I had a couple of questions as I walked in and I didn't get to prep, but we'll start, and I'll wait for my computer to wake up here. Right now, just very quickly, you've got for those of you with paper books, you're getting replacement pages. There's multiple colors just for you to, they don't really mean anything. It's just for your enjoyment. But the page numbers are on them, and you can go ahead and replace those pages as we go through. The capital improvement projects section that we handed out was really just due to some of the conversations that we had at our last meeting. We just updated a few pages there. The county historian, I'm happy to go over that again if anybody still has questions about that, but there's been corrections there after consultation with the county historian. And a couple of pages that had just some corrections in FTEs and such. There's a handout for the Department of Emergency Response that I do want to call your attention to. It would be a page 154 for those of you with the paper copies in front of you, and that is just set up so that it was just to better identify what was supported and what wasn't supported. We realized that some of those numbers had been truncated, so when you're reviewing the budget, we want to make sure that you have that information. All right, so as we're going, there were quite a few questions the last time we met about the budget, and I wanted to kind of walk through what you have in front of you. So first of all, there's two versions of the budget available. One is a PDF version that's printable online, and the other one is the online web browser. So you have two options, as well as the printed book that some of you have requested. Under the department overview, the pages, the overview, the first page includes a description of the department's programs under the program purpose section. Below that is the fiscal target, and that was the target where the departments began with a fiscal target and prepared their budgets to meet that target. Then the departments also identified maintenance of effort requests and enhancements or new requests. The maintenance of effort requests were included in the county administrator's recommended budget as much as possible, and were not presented to you as an over target or a new request. Some of the enhancements were supported, but not all of those could be accommodated within the fiscal constraints this year. Also, under the next thing you'll see on your page is the county administrator's recommendation. This section shows the requests that were supported, and that would be those enhancements that were requested that we could support. The requests that were not included in the budget there's unsupported, and then there's a reduction section, and those are just line item reductions that the county administrator had made in the review of the budget. So that's how those are laid out on those pages. So you're not going to have separate pages. It's going to all be on one page for each department, how those budgets had been adjusted. Next on the page is the full-time equivalents. Those are a snapshot in time. Those are based on the budget of that year. So the FTEs can go up and down throughout the year, but we picked a snapshot in time, and that's at the time that the budget is adopted. Then the next chart that you'll see is the consolidated budget. So that's the adopted budget that totals all of the functional units or all of the New York State units that are added to or that are part of that department's programs. So that's a summary of all of the rest of the functional units as you go down through the page. And those are used interchangeably, New York State units or functional units. And that'll show a line item breakdown for each of the county departments that the county supports. I'm hoping this helps a little bit as you're looking through those pages. Just a couple of really quick other things to outline. As you're going through the line item budgets and you're looking at actuals, there are times throughout the year where adjustments, like during an audit, adjustment could be made to a line item that will then make that request or that line look a little skewed. So great to question the lines, but just to be aware that sometimes there's been some changes that had to be made during the year due to audit adjustments for the GASB requirements. And also payroll can sometimes look a little, so the total payroll is really what you want to focus on rather than when you're looking at overtime, what's been budgeted and what shows up as an actual can also look a bit skewed only because some of the straight time and the overtime gets calculated in the line that's labeled 512 overtime rather than in the straight time line. So just a couple of things to note, and that's my report.
Any questions for Norma on that brief summary? Norma, it's my understanding now we are calling what we used to call OTRs enhancements.
That's correct. Yes.
Okay. Randy.
Yes, Norma, thank you. So I think in the budget book, though, is up to date, and I don't have to worry about anything that you're handing out now.
Online, yes.
So just to, I think you explained this to me, I'll make sure. So I'm looking at the online budget. So it says modified 2025 budget. That's the actual budget we approved or budgets that we approved plus any additions we may have made to those expenses so far?
That's a great question, Randy. That's the modified budget. So that would be all of the budget that was approved at the end of 2024, as well as any changes that have been authorized throughout the year by resolution. So yes, it's modified.
Thank you.
Shauna.
I was wondering if we could get a spreadsheet of all of the enhancements, all of the ones that are recommended, not recommended, and the cost. And I think typically you've had like a little blurb about them.
Yep, it's this close to.
Okay,
It was almost
gotcha.
ready to hand out today, but I hadn't had a chance to fully review.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else? Okay, thank you, Norma, for
You're
that.
welcome.
And I guess we're going to start this evening with our first department to take a look at, which is recycling and materials management. It's on page 234 of the budget book. And I know Leo Riley's here, and I see Kat McCarthy on the screen. Oh, she's here too. Now I see her coming up, but her name's up on the screen.
I assume you want to see her?
Please.
Yep. So electric shocks and chairs.
Yeah. All right, well, thank you everyone for the opportunity to present our budget. I believe everyone knows our Deputy Director, Kat McCarthy. I'm going to start by talking about our consolidated budget that we present today supports 8 program budgets. They all have a wide range of initiatives. We are responsible for various operations that happen 7 days a week, starting as early as 4 a.m. and can run until 6 o'clock p.m. The Recycling Solid Waste Center is open 6 days a week, Monday through Saturday, and our office also serves as a call center for the residential curbside collection contract that collects from over 45,000 residential units in the county. There's 6 household hazardous waste collection events annually, and we have 16 food scrap drop spots throughout the county. All of those are serviced by department staff. Our collection driver also picks up food scraps from all of the county office buildings, as well as public space bins throughout the county. We also manage our contract for confidential paper shredding in all county departments, and our programs encompass initiatives like our Rebusiness Partners program, Borrow a Bin, public space, and more. As we get started, a couple of things that I want to mention that guide our department's budget is the local solid waste management plan that was just approved by the state a little earlier this year. That's good for another 10 years. And the county's strategic plan and department equity indicators. Kat and I also had the opportunity to attend the state's comptroller's budget training, and we both found that very valuable. A couple of takeaways from that we've incorporated into this budget is a better understanding of our specific costs to ensure that the associated fees covering these costs do cover the costs, rather. Part of that exercise involved us reallocating some of those expenses appropriately and adjusting our fees accordingly. As a result of the training, we are proposing and planning for smaller fee increases more often instead of large fee increases, every 3 or 4 years. Also, we came away with the understanding that it's not a good practice to use monies from the fund balance to balance our annual budget. I think we started around 2020 doing that, so we were actually using monies to balance our budget annually, and it was usually around $200,000, $300,000, $400,000. So that kind of became the norm since 2020, and in 2026, we've eliminated that practice in this budget. Full-time employees report. So our staffing expenses will increase roughly $86,000 in 2026. That does include one part-time solid waste code enforcement officer to support the implementation of revisions to the current local laws, and one part-time driver that's affiliated with a grant. So I will say that those two positions were budgeted, and they show up in our budgeted positions in 2025. So the new position proposed in 2026 is one part-time project assistant. I think we want to spend just a couple minutes to make sure that everyone understands this whole ACR history and ACR. The peak committee members hear this quite a bit as we report, and we've become pretty frequent to update them about every quarter, really since probably the end of 2023, 2024. So we want to make sure that everyone understands what it is. It will be referenced throughout the presentation. So ACR stands for average commodity revenue. So the materials you're putting in your bin get sorted out. We sell that material. Plastics will have a revenue per ton number. Tin, aluminum, mixed paper, cardboard, it all rolls up to an average commodity revenue number. The budgeting for our department starts in the spring of each year, and this means we put our budget together with about 3 or 4 months of actual year-to-date information. Our 2026 budgeted ACR is $80 per ton. As we sit here today, our projected ACR would be closer to $60 per ton. And you can see on our chart that in 2025, in April, we projected 77. So again, if we were to do that over as we sit here today, we'd be looking at $60 per ton. If you look at our total budgeted revenue from 2025 to 2026, we're looking at roughly $200,000 less in revenue from the sale of materials. So right out of the gate from 2025 to 2026, we're starting out about $200,000 less to start out with our budget.
Can I just ask a question quick back on that slide, Leo? For 2026, the ACR, so it says budget 80 and the actual, so, but you talked about that, it's talking about 60, so.
Yeah.
Did you want to have one of those numbers as 60 or not?
No, I just think that, we just wanted to communicate that because when we use data to form our upcoming year's budget, we're basing that on 3 or 4 months actual this year, January, February, March. We did include April in there. At that time, when we're forming our budget, that was looking at it, we were looking at an upward trend for that. So if you look in 2025, we budgeted $95 per ton. We get into April, gathering data, set the stage for 2026, we were projecting 77. So from that $77, we said, we're going to budget $80 in 2026. So again, if as we sit here today, that projection would be $60, meaning, our budget, we wouldn't have put our budget number at $80, but we're living with it. We're living with
But
it.
you really think it's going to be 60, not 80? That's what you're saying?
As we sit here today, we're projecting 2025 to come in at $60 per ton.
So the box
By
that
the end
says
of the
April
year.
projection 77, if we were to update it to today's number, would be $60.
The actual,
Yes.
okay.
Projection, yeah.
Yep.
Question from Rich.
More a footnote for those who are here next year, not me. But we had a conversation at Peak about perhaps doing a reserve account to reflect the wild fluctuations you get in this ACR number, to smooth it out over a course of years so that from a budgeting standpoint, you wouldn't see this. And I think it's a good idea for next year's legislature to think about it.
Yeah, this is probably one of our biggest challenges, is getting our arms around the ACR and, keeping our fingers crossed that we budget correctly, and it's, there's no crystal ball with it. And then just looking at the budgeted revenue on that slide, again, 2025, we budgeted $807,000. That we would receive in 2025. And again, out of the gate, 2026 budget, we're projecting $600,000. So that's that $200,000 difference. Budget snapshot. Briefly, 2025, as I mentioned, we're projecting $379,000 shortfall in revenue from the sale of mainly from the sale of materials. On the expense side, we have reduced or paused certain expenses to maintain a balanced budget. So we project our numbers every year, starting right in January. So we have managed to save on some expenses. A couple of those included renegotiation of the Recycling Solid Waste Center that resulted in $150,000 in reduced fees that we had recognized in 2025, as well as I'll mention in that negotiation, we avoided $450,000 worth of increased cost. So we don't recognize or see that savings, but it was avoided in future years. Did I forget something?
Did you want to speak?
Oh, sorry, 2026. Getting ahead of myself. So 2026, again, budgeted year-over-year expenses decreased by $300,000 compared to 2025's budget. And what we are planning to do, as I mentioned earlier, was eliminate that use of fund balance to balance the annual budget. So as an enterprise fund, we maintain a separate fund balance from the county's overall general fund. We are required to maintain a fund balance that represents 16 to 18% of our annual budget. The 2026 budgeted ending fund balance, with adding a $3 increase on the annual fee, would be 18%. As we look out into those future years, our assumptions in those future years would be increasing expenses by 2% and revenues by 2%. We would project that if we increase the annual fee by another $3 in 2027, that we would hold that steady in 2028. I do want to make a note is, with this sale of materials, the revenue from the sale of materials is certainly going to affect this in future years. So, if the picture was bright and we receive, a few $100,000 extra in sale of materials, we wouldn't need to project or to plan to use or increase the annual fee in future years. So just detailing some of the maintenance of effort, staffing, again, $86,000 increase, and that's mainly that 3% increase in labor. Our large contracts, we usually just look at the recycling solid waste center contract, the hauling and disposal contract, and the curbside collection contract. Those three contracts, based with a 3% increase, equals $112,000 increase in those three contracts, 2025, 2026. We also have in this 2026 budget plan to contribute $25,000 into equipment reserve. That's something that we've done in the past. We probably haven't done it since 2020, but that's one other major change, I guess, detail-wise, that we put into the budget. So just kind of summarizing this, total cost increases from that previous slide accounted for $224,000 more in expenses. And as noted, our revenues will be lower in 2026 by about $435,000. Again, because we're eliminating the use of the fund balance, that $235K, and budgeting less in revenue from sale of materials. So when we look at total increase of expenses plus those reduction in revenues, we'll recognize the total budget impact of the $659,000. So on enhancement and fee changes, so we are proposing to increase the solid waste annual unit fee from $82 to $85. That's recognized as roughly $65,000 for every dollar that's increased. So our revenues would increase $195,000 from that annual fee. The disposal fee per ton, we would increase from 106 to 110. That would amount to an additional $70,000 increase. And then our tire disposal would increase from $300 to $350 per ton, and that equals $6,000. The other fee increases are either incidental or more of a simplified change to users of the facility to make things a little less confusing, so. And I think that's all I have. We can direct all the questions to Kat McCarthy.
Deborah?
Yeah, I don't know how huge an impact it's going to have, but if somebody, I mean, how many deer do people?
So this was just a thing that we just wanted to kind of clear up and make simpler. We receive deer that are killed roadside from the county highway department and the state. And at one point, we had a charge per deer. We're just changing that to for those to come in and go out, right, as municipal solid waste, charged at the 110 rate. Simplifies things for everyone.
But then you have to kind of save up till you have a ton before you bring them in. I mean.
No, it goes right out.
There's they would bring it in regardless of the weight, and
There's a minimum.
Yeah, there's a minimum.
Yeah.
And the minimum's the 100 and,
No, the minimum would be, so anything that comes in and goes over our scales
okay,
would be charged either at $110 per ton or $20 minimum.
okay,
Yeah.
gotcha, thank you.
And-
I just
and-
imagined somebody stockpiling deer till they had.
Yeah, well, I'll also make mention that we do have plans working with the county highway department for some composting of those animals at one of the closed landfills, more likely Caswell closed landfill.
Thanks.
Mike Sigler?
My question was, it certainly looks like the recyclable market is again on a downward. Is that, I mean?
Yes, yes.
Does the money we raise through that cover the operation of the recycling?
No.
Okay. No. Are we far off?
Pardon me?
Are we far off?
Well, if you were to look at that, the history of that ACR, and Kat can get that back up, and if you look at actual total revenue, 2021 we budgeted to receive $450,000. The actual revenue that we received in 2021 was double that. It was almost $1 million. So this kind of gives you a gauge of what that $65 actually means, or what the $105. 2023, we budgeted $105. Budgeted to receive over $1 billion. We got $315,000.
Right.
So that's that volatility that can throw a wrench into things for sure. But it's a lot of money. Recycling Solid Waste Center overall budget, I could look in here, but it's roughly $3 million annually for that whole operation.
That's just the recycling side.
Just the Recycling Solid Waste Center, yep.
Shauna?
Yeah, I have a few questions. I wanted to see for the consolidated adopted budget, you have a line item of other. Can you tell us what that is?
Line item of other. And you're in revenue?
No, I'm in expenses.
Sorry.
Yeah, it's 377,561.
A lot of that's debt. Believe it or not, debt falls into that other. We have debt in two programs, old landfills and disposal. So if you were to look into the disposal, solid waste disposal budget, 8160, that actually falls into transfer to other funds. 174,000 that's in there is debt. We also have debt in old landfills, which that's a smaller number.
Okay. My other question was for equipment under that same budget. For this year, you had 17,040, and then for next year, you're asking for 41,500. I guess, why are we doing that, and why are we having it hit target instead of just doing a one-time so that it doesn't hit target for future years?
I'd have to look at the individual budgets to see where that's pulling from.
Okay.
Equipment, we could be dealing with a lot of different bins. We have public space bins, we have composting bins, we have caddies, we have toters for the food scrap drop-off operation. I'm guessing a lot of that is equipment.
So would be equipment that you have to purchase every year? It would be a $24,000 increase every year on equipment? No need to answer it tonight,
Yeah.
but if you could figure out the answer for us, that would be great over the next few days or,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, we can take a closer
That's
look
great.
at that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Randy Brown.
Yeah, thank you, Leo and Kat. I like the mattress process. I think that's a good addition, so thanks for doing that.
Yeah.
I don't know where $31 came from, but that's an interesting number you picked.
That's our direct cost that we will pay for the transportation and processing of a mattress.
Okay.
So direct pass-through.
Okay, so all of the fee changes you've done, like the minimum charge from $15 to $20, that's to balance your budget, basically? The $83 fee, the increase, the $3, that's what you're doing to balance your budget?
Yes, between the annual fee and the other
Okay.
material fees. Yeah.
I think it's worth noting too that we did look closely at our fees to understand if they were covering the costs. And so I think that's also paired with it, is making sure that they're covering the cost of the expense.
Okay. And what would you use your reserves for?
So prior to 2021, and 2021 marked one of those RFP years where we put the Recycling Solid Waste Center out to bid for the operation and marketing of material. Usually when we put an RFP together, we will also incorporate possibly changes to our operation. So that would be capital projects that we would plug in. So, let's say, 2021, this is actually what happened. We transfer single stream material from our facility to Ontario County for processing. That was transferred in an open top 53-foot trailer. You don't get a real heavy load. So we reduced 209 trips to Ontario County by purchasing a single stream compactor trailer. And I believe that was roughly $450,000. So prior to 2021, we did have money going into an equipment reserve. So as we led up into 2021, we were able to pull that money out of that reserve to offset any debt that we would have incurred purchasing that equipment. That's county-owned equipment.
Okay, thank you. So looking at your budget for this year, do you have your own finance people that are managing your budget and looking at if you're within budget or over budget, and how often do you look at that?
We do. So Jackie Maloney's we have a fiscal coordinator there. She does a lot of work with Kat and I to put the budget together. And she's the liaison, if you will, with finance. So there's a lot of functions really that involve finance with our process during the year. So for instance, our annual fee, those bills go out. The checks come into finance. Finance will take that, put it into an account, and then eventually drop that into the individual budgets. So there's reports that come from finance that kind of speak to Jackie so she can make some internal log some things internally so we can track certain things as to where we are. Yes. We, meaning Kat and myself, track a lot of the operation expenses. Those are the big expenses. So whether it's the revenues month to month or the expenses month to month, we look at that hard every month. Yeah. And Daryl might be able to speak to some of the functions that finance has, but yeah, I mean, there's dialogue back and forth. Yep.
And lastly, how does this budget in your increase the numbers of material you're trying to not send to a landfill? How does this do that? And especially today, when I know certain things now are not longer recyclable, like the black plastic food containers, and it's really confusing for people. People, whenever I talk to them about it, they don't know what to put in the bin, not to put in the bin, and I think it's actually causing less people to recycle. So are you tracking the volumes of the things that you're recycling? Is that part of the reason for the decline in your revenues? Or isn't the goal to get more people to recycle things? And if not, even to manage the product itself, so versus it going to a landfill? So that's a big question, and I'm not in peak anymore, so I would ask it there. But
well, no, it's a good question, and it's a challenge for us. So I'm going to say a few things, but I'm also going to let Kat say a few things. So we're always looking to increase waste to divert from the landfill. Landfill costs, you know, I've stated it at peak, they're going to increase year over year over year. And, you know, we have one grant that we're going to be starting in the spring. We'll be doing a food scraps curbside collection in the city of Ithaca, a pilot area in the city of Ithaca. So as we roll that out, we're going to be keeping certain folks involved, like Rebecca Evans from the city, Brent Cross from Cuga Heights, Trumansburg, just because those are areas where a curbside pilot of collection of food scraps would work well. So we are going to be diverting from that additional material. So the grants, Kat has another grant that she's working with farm composting. Outreach and education is huge. We hope to, with a new outreach coordinator that we have, we hope to gain some ground with that. One of the bigger projects that I think that is going to really impact some of those volumes, and we'll talk more for anybody that's coming Friday to a project that we have going on with this waste characterization study. We're going to be looking at different streams that come into the facility to identify where we need to focus our work. So multifamily homes, large mega complexes that have front load dumpsters. And I can tell you, you can look in the trash dumpster up there and they have recycling dumpsters and you'd have a hard time telling them apart. So, you know, results from the waste composition study, we're going to talk a lot about this Friday, but depending on those results, we hope that will really support and justify some of the changes that we're going to propose when we update the solid waste local laws, whether it's higher fines, stricter enforcement on mandatory recycling, trash tag law. So a lot of changes come in there, and I mean, those are a few things. And do you have anything to add?
I just wanted to add that I think education and outreach, I know Leo mentioned that, I think that's a huge component, especially as we start thinking about our solid waste management plan and moving forward. Some of the key pieces that we're really going to be leaning into is waste reduction and reuse programming in addition to organics diversion. And so I think there's opportunities to really engage the community, and that's some of what's in this budget includes funding for, you know, some test projects or small pilots where we're building out dishware reuse or enhancing the reusable bag program. So I think those are some of the components of it, paired with some additional, you know, the code enforcement officer. So really trying to incentivize things, but then also having that piece where we can really engage folks around this is the infrastructure that we have in place and this is why it's set up this way.
And I appreciate that question because we have recognized lower volumes when it comes to recycling. Now, again, there's a bunch of different things that factor in. I don't know if you've heard the term light weighting, but if you take single-use water bottles, they've gotten much thinner over the years. So that's lighter. That contributes to the lower volume. Corrugated cardboard, at one time that was tough, rugged stuff. It's not anymore. So a few factors into that, but we hope to make some good ground with that over the next couple of years.
Ann Corman.
Thanks. I'm speaking to the future legislators also, and whoever are the returning legislators. And we've talked about this before. We really need New York State, which is on the verge of passing extended producer responsibility for packaging. Even in New York State, some stats are we only recycle about 18%, and other states and countries which have passed this, the recycling rates, some estimates are as high as 80%. And then you talked about the confusion. So then instructions would come. So that's up to the producer to give you instructions so that we don't have to do all of this, trying to figure out where all these materials go, how to give people instructions on the back end. It should be on the front end. And then if they're responsible for it, they are responsible for providing those streams, those streams to process it all. So I think, if we can get that passed, that would change things a lot. And then, of course, lessen the financial responsibility that our taxpayers, have to pay for that, where we're having to pay more and more each year for recycling. So just want to put a shout out to that.
Yeah, thank you, Ann. That was a good point.
I had a couple questions. When the solid waste fee started, people were told it would go away eventually. Guess what? It hasn't.
Like the income tax.
And over the early years, when there was some extra money that came in from the sale of recyclables, that was used to help support the solid waste fee, not increase it so much. 4 or 5 years ago, we made a decision at this legislature to continue the recycling program, unlike some counties which were doing away with it. And we realized it was going to cost more money on the solid waste fee. And what I'm wondering is, what strategy have we to try to reduce the solid waste fee? Or is it just that the sky's the limit? It'll just keep going up forever?
Well, what strategy do we have? Not every planning unit or county has a solid waste annual fee. I would sit here and say that at $82 or $85, that fee's a bargain for a resident. And I say that having the background in collection of waste. The curbside collection contract, because of it, number one, being a countywide program, 45,000 residential units. That bid comes in roughly $2 million, and that breaks down to, I'm going to just roughly say $40 annually for your recycle bins as a resident to be serviced at the curb every other week, $40. Again, my hauling background, if it was a Waste Management or a Casella that you contract with directly to have that serviced, it would, I don't have any recent numbers, but I can tell you it'd probably be close to $40 a month to have that recycling picked up. So that's a bargain. As just speaking to the curbside recycling collection. Plan to reduce it. Ann mentioned EPR. And EPR, in a nutshell, is manufacturers of recyclable packaging would have the responsibility to pay for the processing of that material. So our processing fees would go away with EPR. you would see processing costs go down. Because if anybody's going to be able to move a needle on bringing those costs down to manufacturers, what's causing the high cost of processing that material? A cardboard box, or let's say different types of plastics. There could be 100 different types of makeup of plastics that go in for processing. What if there was 4 or 5? You're getting a much cleaner stream, you're getting a better product. So, you know, we don't have the ability to make those changes, but the large companies that are manufacturing you know, this packaging material, you will see them make some changes to simplify all of that. And I wouldn't doubt in future years there'd be more reusable packaging to eliminate things. So I guess the simple answer there, Mike, if revenues were replaced from things like EPR, I could see that going down. But yeah, that's the best I can answer that question, Mike.
Okay, well, I appreciate it, and I certainly agree about the packaging legislation at the state level, but by gosh, it gets all ready to be at the end of the session, and then they get attacked by the lobbyists, and then it doesn't happen. So I don't know.
Yeah.
It should, but I don't know when it will. But if, for example, instead of putting all of your fund balance, or not using any of your fund balance, if you were to use, for example, $65,000 out of that, it would be possible to reduce the increase from $2 on the solid waste fee to $3, from $3 to $2. Is that correct?
Well, yeah, I mean, you know, just because we're budgeting the use of fund balance doesn't necessarily mean we have that 65,000. You know, we're pretty much just saying, well, if, you know, to balance this budget, we're going to use $65,000 from the fund balance. So what happens there is, let's say we come in right on budget. We budgeted to use $65,000. So that's $65,000 that comes out of our fund balance. Now our fund balance reduces in percentage. And, you know, that's kind of our guide as we're budgeting and looking at future budget, multi-year budgets, is to maintain that fund balance, 16 to 18%. So
I guess thinking way back in the early years, I remember that just about every year they used something from fund balance to try to support the solid waste fee. But that's all right. Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate that, and I appreciate your comments here. That helps.
Thank you, Mike.
I've got a question from Lee.
I'm glad we're back to fund balance. The caffeine hasn't had its desired effect yet, so you're going to have to walk me through this just a little bit. And I'm trying to understand, and I'm going back a little bit to Rich's comments. So you're going to maintain a fund balance ideally with a goal of 18% of your overall budget. When it falls below that, I guess the question is are you going to be looking for outside revenues or county revenues or solid waste fee revenues to bring that back to 18 within the budget? And the second part is, when you made reference to Peak possibly talking about a reserve fund, how does that differentiate from a fund balance in its usage, and how does that get built up? Are we looking to raise funds to maintain separate funds that we're not going to touch moving ahead? I'm having a hard time following this.
Well, to answer your first question.
I know I rolled them all together there, Leo.
Yeah. The first question, go back to that one, please, if you could. It was
maintaining a fund balance at 18%.
Yes. So maintaining the
what
fund
happens when it falls short?
So I know we've talked a lot about increase in revenues, to maintain things. I've always been one, whether it's working for the county or previous jobs, when you're looking at budgeting, I mean, we always look at our expenses. I mean, expenses is the first place I think anyone should go to. You look to reduce those expenses, save some revenue. With that said, we've done that. Over the years, we have removed some expenses from our budget, some nice-tos, if you will. So we will always look to do that. And if the revenues aren't there, I mean, the good hard truth is you cut programs and you cut staff. That's the hard truth. That's the way that I look at budgeting and managing things.
So are we budgeting monies to move the fund or keep the fund at 18%? How do we stay at that number?
When we build our budget, we look to ensure that it's still maintaining at year end. And from our slides previous, you can see that we do look in a multi-year fashion. So once we've built our annual budget, then we take a look out to see kind of where are we going to land and start to look at, okay, if it's coming in lower than where we expect, we've got to explore a little bit more closely and figure out, okay, what are the expenses? What are the revenues? How do we balance this budget in the future?
Yeah, so as an example, building the 2026 budget, we built it. We get done, we calculate the fund balance isn't there. We look at reducing expenses and adding revenues. One of the things that we did do to move that needle, we originally had our contracts budgeted for a 3% CPI. I believe we moved it to either 2% or 2.5%. You know, it whittles it down. So, yeah, just managing the expense and revenues.
And going back to the question with Rich, what was the
Yeah, I would,
with the reserve?
I would suggest a separate reserve because you have a very specific problem with the consolidated commodity revenue in that you can't predict it well. I mean, year on year, they do their best. You're never going to get it right. So in a fat year, put it in this separate reserve and smooth it out on your lean years. So when they're coming here to the legislature, they could have a number, say, around 75, and they could supplement it from this reserve rather than trying to anticipate and budget way up and down from 95 to 60.
Yeah, I had thrown that out. We talked a little bit at peak about that, and I think I brought it up. If you think of fuel, budgeting for fuel, there's been years where fuel is out of sight. So when I worked for Waste Management, they told us what to budget for fuel. So, $3 a gallon for fuel. If it ended up being $4 a gallon, there was a fund that paid the districts that extra dollar for fuel. So I can understand the theory, and I'd love to talk with finance and administration to see if we could do something like that. It makes perfect sense. So in other words, year over year over year, we would budget $80 ACR. And then anything that is above that comes in, goes into that reserve for future years. Anything less that comes in, we pull out of that reserve to pay that. It's clean, yeah. I'm all for that idea.
Well, we need to move along. Ann, did you have a comment?
No,
okay.
good, thank you.
Folks, we thank you for coming in your very thorough presentation tonight.
Very good. Thank you,
Very
Mike. Thank you,
helpful
everyone.
to us.
Thank you.
It's an enterprise user. You run it like a business.
Human Resources.
Selling services.
Looks like we've got our commissioner, Ruby Pulliam, and we've got Heather Buck, and we've got Larry Workman. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to present the 2026 Human Resources Department budget, and we will jump right into our presentation. This is us.
Yay.
Going to our department purpose, it's simply the same thing as it as we try to achieve by supporting the county's mission and strategic objectives, by providing high-quality services through effective recruitment, development, and retention of a diverse and talented workforce. I changed the numbers here. It's always funny to me, if you look at different reports, how many departments we actually have. But I'm mirroring what's in the county administrator's message, and it makes more sense. 30 county departments, divisions, and offices. That's who we support as part of the central administration, as well as 26 municipal partners. We strive to create a workplace environment that fosters collaboration, engagement, promotes professional growth, and ensures equity and inclusion for all our employees. And our budget reflects that purpose. Our FTE report, I'll start with 2026, as Norma mentioned earlier, is fluid. It's based upon the at-a-glance snapshot. So currently, 12.5 is listed as one new 2026 position. That position was approved mid-2025, and it's included in our 2026 maintenance of effort budget. Our budget snapshot, I use this opportunity to just highlight the simple changes in our 2026 budget. The 2026 maintenance of effort includes the training and development coordinator position that was approved in 2025 as a multi-year request. That has been included in our maintenance of effort budget. There were personnel changes in our benefit staffing mid-2025. That's also included. That was the one FTE that we reduced to part-time and the addition of one full-time equivalent. Software changes this year, we've assumed Nogales, which is a system used to access employee data pre-2021. If you remember when we went to Workforce Ready UKG, that only included data from 2021 forward. We had to have a system that we can access our employee data previous to that. Also different in 2026, we're seeking to get a NeoGov, which is an applicant civil service system, to replace the two systems that we have now. And I couldn't help myself. I put future software needed just so that you'll know if I ever come to you to say I need more software, that we need to upgrade our existing Workforce UKG to include a more comprehensive benefits module. I'm not asking for that this year. Our maintenance of effort budget is a reduction of $69,540 in salary and fringe costs. This would impact the department.
Rich.
We would basically eliminate.
I think Rich had a question,
I'm sorry.
perhaps.
The NeoGov, you said you were replacing two separate software. Is that a savings of money overall, or is it 23 new?
It is an increase of about $9,000 from what we currently pay. We currently have two systems. It's an eGov system. One is our applicant system that was created just for Tompkins County that we have not been able to upgrade. The other eGov system contains our roster records only. So with NeoGov, we would combine the two.
But 9,000 is the net.
Yes.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. So this reduction in salary and fringe costs would mean that there's an elimination of an administrative position in our staff. After we've relocated to 201 East Green Street, we've recognized that one front office person is sufficient and we can share expenses. So as much as we hate to do it, this is where our reduction is coming from. There are no other lines where we could sustain that loss and continue our functions. There's also a reduction of $7,000 in computer and food lines, and I placed here as minimal impact. We don't have a need to purchase additional scanners anymore. Our computer equipment is furnished to us by ITS. And with the food line, we had already decided that we had to be more strategic in providing food for our activities, which means instead of including breakfast, we would schedule our activities from 9 to 12, skipping lunch, so that people can go out, eat their own lunch. We would also provide snacks rather than our full spread. So those things that HR has come to be known for, we're changing things up a bit. So, and also we're hoping that we don't have as many searches as we've had the last couple of years. That will save a lot of money and food. So that's our maintenance of effort changes there, and it's detailed in the chart following that. If you would take what was requested, total that minus what the county admin recommendation is, it would equal that $69,540 in personnel cost reduction that's included in the recommended budget. As far as enhancements, is the NeoGov system, $23,035. And that, again, it will replace the two eGov systems that we currently use. Our 2025 cost was $13,991 for both systems. That's netting that $9,000 increase. Our current system no longer supported maintenance-wise. It's not mobile-friendly. There are negative user experiences. Almost every day we receive emails from people requesting help to get their applications through. And the reporting capabilities are next to useless. There's duplicate numbers, sometimes triplicate. It's just not a good system to do the reporting that we need to do. What's not supported in the county administrator's recommendation is $20,494 as an increase to the countywide training fund. If you will remember, we reduced that last year in exchange for a training and development coordinator's position. The impact of that is we will continue to do what we're doing this year. We will restrict those funds to requests that provide benefits to a multi-department or countywide request. And it's outlined in the new detail, the NeoGov costs that's supported, and the additional training, travel and training request is not supported. And that's our budget. We're not asking for anything over what was recommended in the county administrator's budget.
What questions have we? Amanda?
Thank you. Thank you all. So there's a lot of pieces of the travel and training, and there's also in-service training, which is a different category. I guess I'm just wondering what the difference is in training and in-service training, and this. Sorry, I forgot my book, so I'm trying to look at this on my phone. But so the 20,000 that's unable to be supported, that's for everyone across the county.
Correct.
Okay. So then, what is in-service training?
In-service training was a fund that we used to use for smart work processes. For departments to go through the process of documenting how many times someone touches a step in a process, where the bottlenecks are, and it's not something that we have done the last few years, but that's what in-service was.
Okay, I guess I get that, but like the 2494 is listed under the in-service category, 1987.
1987 is countywide travel training. This one is HR's.
So that's what she's looking. You're looking at the travel and training line 54412.
Yeah.
That 23,246 that was in fiscal year 2025, but yet the deduction is from there. So what we would not do, we wouldn't move any money from the countywide training fund to the HR-specific training fund.
I see.
So each department usually has a small amount of travel and training. So that was part that was taken from the total 2025 travel and training that was used for HR travel and training. But now we're putting, everything will be in countywide travel and training.
Gotcha, okay. And I remember talking about this last year, the position, the person who's doing that. And I think what we said last year was like, oh, if we have this position, this will help, cut down on costs in other places. I guess I'm wondering if that has happened.
Yes.
And also, like, looking at a lot of the other department budgets, that's something that has generally been cut, is travel and training. So
it has. If you would look at our previous amount, it was over 100,000.
Okay.
We were working with $54,000 for training. We have funded a front office series for multi-departments. We're funding the Supervisor for Success with in-house trainers. We've also getting ready for our Leadership Series Part 2, again, in-house. So all of these were things that we were sending people either to TC3 or the other organizations to be trained. So we're really restricting those funds to county-wide services that we've shown that there's a need. We had quite a few complaints about front office, so we dealt with that. We have quite a few complaints about supervisors not realizing or knowing what to do. So we're addressing that. But yes, it has paid off, and it paid off within a month or so after the person came on board.
Great. Okay, great. Thanks for explaining all that.
We've got Shauna, then we've got Randy.
Can you talk to us a little bit about what all other contract services is and what it is compared to professional services?
Okay, I asked this question about all other contractual services includes things like our copier, things that we have leases for. Professional services includes our legal retainers. It also includes the contractor that does our 1095C reporting. It also includes, that's Paragon, Romer, and any other that we have professional services contracts with. The other contractual services includes our leases and things.
Okay.
Equipment.
And can you discuss why you're asking for $24,000 more this year?
And
all other contract services?
that's costs that are beyond our control. Those are automatic increases for either leases or anything like that.
Okay.
And Nogales is in there?
And I'm sorry.
Nogales is the system that we use to gather our pre-2021 data from. So I'm told that that's included in there as well.
Okay.
And that was $24,500.
Okay, gotcha. Thank you.
Randy Brown.
Thank you for being here. And looking at your budget, it looks like you're going to be under budget this year overall for all your expenses. And I was curious, how do you, I'm trying to understand how the finance works for the county. Do you have your own people looking at your budget going, okay, well, in the month of August, our expenses were Y, our budget was Z, and the difference, or do you just do it once a year? Does it go through finance? How does that process work for you guys?
Finance sends monthly reports that we look to see where we are at that point. We don't have a financial person, but we have our deputy who monitors the budget. And each person who's responsible for a specific line item will make sure we're not going over budget, or if we do, where we need to transfer from. So a lot of our lines, especially with not professional services, program expense, is where we get what we need to do, what we need to do. That's the line that we have psychological evaluations paid for. We do police officer, deputy sheriff's testing. And our exam fees come from there. So if there's 20 exams or versus 40 the previous year, there may be a little additional money there that we can move things from. So we monitor based upon our monthly expenditures report.
So human resources, any expenses you have, those kinds of things, you enter them in the OpenGov system? Or who enters the bills and those kinds of things, and is it all done through finance? Do you submit documentation to them? How does that work?
Depending on the Sorry, Ruby. Depending on the expense you're talking about, they do come through finance. For example, if it's a check we pay a vendor, it comes through on a voucher through our accounts payable, and it's processed through our accounting software, EFIN, which then I believe nightly goes to OpenGov to show the figures there.
Okay, and so salary and wages would be similar, go through the same system?
Correct. Salary and wages is done in the UKG software, and every payroll we process it. Finance does. I have 2 people who work for payroll, and then we upload it into eFinance. We take the information out of UKG, we manipulate it to make it the way we need it for accounting standards, and then we upload it into eFinance.
Great, thank you. And my last question, you're doing a lot of HR work for municipalities and schools and those kinds of things. Do other counties do the same thing that you're doing, and are we missing any revenue opportunities?
Some counties charge exam fees. We don't. After 2020, after COVID, most municipalities started to eliminate those exam fees in order to have improve the recruitment difficulty. So that's about the only thing that we could do that would bring in some revenue. But again, we're not doing that much testing where it makes a bit of difference to our to our budget line.
I think we're providing good service to other municipalities and towns, and it's because they don't have the HR people, and so it's, I know you do your events, hiring events, those kinds of things are real value to people, and so thank you.
Veronica Pillar.
Comment and a question. Comment is I'm glad it's approved to switch to the new software. And speaking of training, at the NISAC conference I was just at, one of the many things I learned was that at least to county websites, about 80% of visits these days are from smartphones as opposed to from some like full-size computers. So if something doesn't work on a smartphone, it basically doesn't work. Correct. My question was, it's interesting that the move to Green Street has changed the shape of the need for front desk staffing. And I'm wondering if you can elaborate on that, just because I'm curious, and it's the kind of thing we'll be thinking of for the center of government. Obviously, that's not part of this budget, but can you share a little more?
But it is along the same model that the county administrator has in mind for the center of government. We have basically one floor with 2 departments. There's security at the front desk, so there's a check-in point downstairs. So they're coming up to the front office, and really you don't need 2 people, one for county administrator and one for HR. The remaining tasks, answering the phones, those kind of functions, we are reassigning remaining staff to do so. So it's really just consolidating the functions. When we have 2 departments right there on the same floor, whether, it's different from when we were on our own. So we're doing what we can to reduce the budget and stay within the guidelines we're given.
Thank you.
Richard John.
Thanks. I just have a comment. You noted the 30 departments and 26 agencies that you help support. The library has had a lot of need lately, both for HR, but also civil service advice, and your help is noted and appreciated.
Thank you.
I had a question, and that is, with the new temporary transfer over to Green Street, are you finding employees and the public having difficulty finding you?
Yes.
Is there anything we can do to help with that? If there is, let us know.
I will let you know if I can think. I will let you know.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right, that was very helpful, and thank you all for being here tonight. I do want to take a second and mention our county administrator is not absent. He's virtual. He was virtual at our last meeting, and he's virtual tonight. And so he's carefully listening to all of the presentations and to all of our crisp questions that we're trying to solicit information about. Okay, next we have information technology, and it's Budget Book 196. And we have Lauren Cottrell and Kim Marie Moore.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for the opportunity to present tonight. A little bit about ITS. ITS supports infrastructure, cyber, GIS services in all the departments and municipalities that Ruby just mentioned, including like the health consortium as well. For the municipalities, we do a lot of shared services with public safety, Laserfiche, et cetera. We have 20 buildings, including the new backup dispatch center, and we have 2 data centers. We have over 3,000 endpoints, including computers, phones, copiers, Wi-Fi access points, cameras. I could go on and on. So that's a little bit about us. Maybe going to the next slide. So we have an uptick in cybersecurity right now. That's what's been keeping us busy, moving departments. So I have a great team, and as we'll get into the presentation and talk a little bit about our needs. So as I mentioned, the ITS, we provide technical support, infrastructure, systems administration, security, all those items that I just mentioned earlier. Our GIS unit supports things like our 911 center, departments, mapping, dashboards, et cetera. Which kind of rolls into our full-time employees. In 2023, we were up to 16 employees. We've dwindled down to 13 employees, and our ask for this year would be 2 additional employees to get us back up to our 24 numbers. I guess, there's a lot we could talk about our budget snapshot now. I think bottom line is our reduced IT capacity right now limits the county's ability to innovate and support cost-saving measures, strategic IT investments, deliver long-term savings and resilience across all departments. Enhancing IT now improves the county's ability to meet today's budget challenges and tomorrow's service demands. We've got lots of projects going on. There's no shortage of work. I have an amazing staff that wears a lot of hats. So we're trying to spread that load over a couple more people. Right now, if I have 1 or 2 people out, it's a big deal. And it's hard to do the things on a daily basis. Our main of effort is really in our service contracts, industry-wide 9% increase in some of those service contracts. So a couple big ones, Office 365, VMware, to name a couple of them, that were probably our biggest increases over last year. Let's see, this one is our
Enhancements for 2.
Yes, so that the 2, like we mentioned earlier, the 2 systems analysts to help with the distributed workload. I guess we would focus those 2 positions in cyber and infrastructure, continuing to support the 20 buildings, the 30 departments, the shared service municipalities, public safety, and then the ongoing initiatives. Things like Code Blue last fall drops in our lap. We gotta make it happen. Those kind of things happen all the time. So, right now, again, I have an amazing staff. They wear a lot of hats. Maybe I feel like too many hats on too many people. So, and then our training. We asked for 11,000 additional in training. We leveraged over the last couple of years the training budget that HR had. We dipped into their training budget about $13,000 to enhance our training budget, and that kind of dried up for this year. And so we've really had to limit where we can send people. Our training typically is anywhere for $2,000 to $4,000 for a good training for whether it's our GIS people, our cyber people, our infrastructure people, and so we're just looking to bump that up. Let's see. Yeah, so that's the detail I kind of just went through. Those are our 2 positions, our additional training. Again, I think there was some money left over in travel training last year because it happened to be that we spent out of the HR budget, and the big ticket items went, we might have had a $5,000 training, took it out of theirs, and ultimately left with $1,500 in ours. Not that we couldn't have spent it, but we ended up spending HRs instead. So, and professional services, that line item is typically, I think we've got 4,000 if I remember correctly, and that typically is any service contracts like our phone contract, our First Light contract that helps us with advanced routing and fiber installs and things like that. If we go above and beyond our contract for that year or our service contract, then that pays any overages that we need for any additional work to be done. So, for example, we have to have Dutch Mill come online this year. I need to contract with them to do engineering services, and we would take it out of that money. So, what's next?
That's quick and painless, hopefully.
So that was the express version.
All right, let's start with questions then. I've got Randy first, then Shauna, then Veronica.
Thank you for being here. What does a system analyst do?
Yeah, so that's I don't want to say it's a generic position, but it's a position that we could put in cyber and infrastructure. It could be
it's a stepping stone position, really.
Yes, it is. It's a lot of times in our ITS department, we start people at the microcomputer level as they show interest in one thing or another, whether it's cyber, infrastructure, then we'll move them up. That's a stepping stone position, but it usually is a position. So more than likely, we would promote people that we already have into those positions and hire at an entry level.
Okay. Yeah, I've had this laptop for 4 years and keep it going, so I appreciate that. You had to fix it a couple of times, but as long as it works, I'm happy.
Great.
So, I agree that technology is really key to efficiencies for the county. And as was just mentioned by Veronica, a lot more people are using their phones for work. Is that your responsibility for websites to do those things, or do we hire somebody to modify those things, or who's doing that work?
That's in our probably our work plan for next year, is to take over the administration of the countywide cell phones and consolidate that in our department. And we are, as you all are using your cell phones for MFA, we're having to support people coming into the office, setting up new phones, whether there's their personal phones, helping people set up we've all done it with all of you, your authentication to certain programs, and that's very time consuming. We're also we're continuing to do a lot of remote work support. So when the pandemic hit, we obviously had that, everybody's working from home, and as an organization, we still have a lot of people working 1 or 2, 3 days at home. So it's that support of, I can't connect to the VPN, I don't have internet access. Well, we end up supporting people's home stuff because we're trying to get them up and running.
I just want to make sure that you'd asked about the website. Is that where you were going with that?
Yeah, so we have county websites,
Sure.
but more and more people using it on a phone.
Yeah.
Whose job is it to?
Monica actually manages the website. She does it through Granicus, which is part of Open Cities.
Is that through IT or?
Nope, that's actually through the
County
communications
administration.
director, which is under county admin, and Monica
Okay.
manages that. She took that over from Dom when he left, and she actually came into the hot seat on that one, and she's been doing a great job of supporting the county with the website through Granicus.
Well, we're running a little bit behind.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
All of them? No. I'm sorry, the next we have is Shauna.
Thank you. I think it's been clear to me that IT is kind of like the central nervous system of the county. And so in order for all of us to be able to function, we have to have our computers and our phones. And if any one of those is not working, then none of us are able to function. So one of the things, I just returned back from NISAC, and one of the things that we had as part of our board meeting was conversation about cyber attacks. how they're happening to actually most of the counties out there. And they're seeing that, of course, foreign countries are doing many of these, Russia, Iran, and China. And, unfortunately, what's happening, well, fortunately, unfortunately, is that IT organizations within counties are having to ramp up because you have a small staff and you can only handle so much of your workload. And so many of even counties our size have like a security director, have people that are actually doing more of the, and I know every once in a while we get one of the phishing emails and, we open it up or play a video and then we get a call from Kim and, I mean, that's never happened to me, of course.
Don't click, Sean, don't click.
Do not click.
Don't click.
Do not click. But I think the conversation that we probably, I know this is a tough budget year, but the conversation we probably should have is how can we protect ourselves better? And so I hope that, next year we can have that conversation because I do feel like, we've been really lucky so far because, we have great staff and we've just been lucky. But I think there could be a situation where we're not so lucky and it really could crash us.
Yeah, there will be. We always say it's not when, or
Yeah.
if, it's when. It's really just a standard in the IT industry.
Yeah.
Prepare.
And I think as far as the training, I mean, this stuff is constantly changing, like on a daily basis. The hackers are getting better. We're getting dumber. We're clicking on their stuff. We're opening up our networks.
Speak for yourself, girl.
And so, the training I think is going to be key for your department, and I'm glad to see it ramped up a little bit.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Veronica.
Interesting, Shauna, that you used a body metaphor, because I was going to say that IT is part of the backbone of our organization. Or I actually find it really interesting that we had, I'll keep this tangent brief, HR, IT, and finance all in a row, because those three departments, I think, are what keep our organization running together, the backbone. County admin might be the brain, I don't know. Anyhow.
We were.
We're the brain. No, we're not the brain.
We're the,
We're the colon.
maybe we're the heart.
The liver.
I don't know, anyway. I'm so sorry, I'm distracted. Training, travel and training budgets. What I wanted to ask you was just to illustrate stuff. Can you give a couple examples of training things people go to?
Yeah, I mean, we do leverage a lot of tools from the state, things like CrowdStrike. We have cloud backup utilities. We have a lot of tool sets, some that we pay for, a lot that we don't. And we've gotten some really good ones from New York State, Department of Homeland Security, and we implement them. We get a little bit of training in the beginning of that, and then it's kind of on our own. So these are our big things like VMware training, which is our virtualization, CrowdStrike, NetApp, which is our I don't like to tell exactly what our infrastructure is, but we have a lot of infrastructure, our switches, our routers, camera systems, all of those things are changing, and we have to patch them and keep up to date. So it's endless training, and we could probably ask for 10 times more than that.
And it partially comes down to employee retention. One of the things that we struggle with is—
Can you scoot the mic closer?
Yeah, that was me, sorry. Usually I talk so loud. One of the things that we do struggle with is retention. In the private sector, where a lot of people are attracted to IT positions, is where they pay for certifications. So they're working towards certifications, and there's certifications in every area. CrowdStrike alone has certifications. Any number of vendors, Cisco right on down, offer certifications. Those tests run an average of $4,000 to get somebody certified. They are not cheap, but they are something that people in the IT covet. And it's one of the things that we've never been able to really offer. And we really strive to create a team effort, and for lack of a better term, make people want to stay because we're nice people, but that doesn't always work. There's a lot more money out there in the private sector, in the IT field, and a lot more carrots that are dangled. So the reduction in our training budget is a little more of a kick to us, because now we can't even offer trainings per se, and unfortunately we don't have the HR budget to fall back on, which is what we've done in the past. I know that that's across the board, so it's probably a little bit of Crimea River, but it's a real problem, for lack of a better term, in the IT department.
That's really helpful to know about the certifications. And then I have a general question, which might not be for now, but maybe two questions. One, what line exactly is the HR travel and training budget that's potentially accessible to everyone else in the county? And two, I look at Amanda and said, the travel and training thing seems kind of confusing, and there's budget lines all over the place, none of which are apparently sufficient. And why, does it make sense for every department to have their own line plus also a county pot, or should we change that?
That's a good question.
Is that a question to Lauren?
That would be an opinion I could give, but.
Yeah.
Well, since you're
Who
here.
you're asking that to?
Well, I think that, okay, you asked for it.
The first question, the first question about the line is, I guess, for Norma, and it could be later, but.
I don't want to speak for HR, but I think part of the problem is that we're all going to provide a really good case on the training that we need within our department. So it became HR to make no, you can't go to that training, but you can. And I don't think it's fair to them to put them in the middle.
That's interesting.
I think Deborah's next.
Yes, thank you, Mike. I just wanted to follow up on what Shauna was discussing. I think with at least 8 new legislators next term, and Shauna, who apparently clicks on whatever comes across, it would be really a good thing if IT could provide some internal training for the new people, because it's easy to get fooled, and it's getting easier every day.
Yeah, and you're a target.
Thank you.
Randy, you wanted another shot.
I did. I was in a office that Cornell monitors all the emails, or actually for some of the schools. Guy had 8 monitors, and they're actually, all emails go through them before they even allow them to go anywhere else. I thought that was fascinating. And it's incredible watching how it goes.
They have a lot more money than we do.
And how many emails from bad actors are out there. But I have a question for you on your revenues.
Sure.
And you show federal aid of $187,000, which is new. What is that?
Yeah, I'm going to defer to our county administration for that. I think it's ARPA funds that we're going to leverage for our Office 365, if I remember correctly.
You have it.
Yep.
Repeat that, please.
I believe that's ARPA funds that we're going to use for our Microsoft Office 365 licensing.
So this is leftover funds?
It was leftover funds, and they had to be applied to an existing contract.
Okay, thank you.
Amanda?
Yes. So one new position is supported. How difficult or easy will it be to hire somebody?
Like I said, we'll promote within and then hire at the lower level. We've been hiring at the lower level consistently, so we're used to that, and I don't think it'll be a problem at that initial,
We shouldn't have a problem with an internal promotion. We've got
things in mind.
a young team that's showing lots of innovation.
And if you had both positions equally?
We could equally promote.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
So, sort of following up on that, if you only have one position supported, what are you not able to do that you wanted to do?
To take less hats off of people. So the hope is that we cross-train as much as possible, but, we have so much that we support, all those things I just mentioned, camera systems, backups, virtual machines, security, door access control. All of those things require expertise in our department. So, the 2 people I have right now in our network administration that deal with a lot of that, they're spread pretty thin. So yeah, 1 person would help, 2 people would be better.
I would say one person would be critical for us because we have a plan in place where we have sort of succession and or a backup for every position except for what we're all talking about here, which is the most important position of cybersecurity. Lillian is a one-person show. Lauren and I used to handle that. We're trying to back it up.
And it's a 24/7 position. Yeah. We are very lucky to have who we have. She rolls all the time with Kim and I. We work things all the time. So we're looking to lessen the load on, so she could actually take a vacation and, you know, not be tied to things 24/7.
So that one position becomes critical. If we could get that second position, great. Then we've got a little bit of room to sort of spread the load as we've been talking about. But not getting the one position at a minimum is just difficult.
Lee.
Couple leading questions and then throw one out here. Lauren, you mentioned Dutch Mill and Code Blue.
Yeah.
And that kind of jogged me a little bit here. And you're in the midst of coordinating a number of office moves, have been, will be. How much involvement has your department got in the major capital projects such as the center of government?
Yeah, we met today. We've been meeting regularly. That's taken up a lot of my time. We meet with Arel. We still have to move our data center. We have moved our office into where the county administration was. We were right in the middle of all the other moves with HR and county admin. We're fully expecting to obviously help and move all the computer and infrastructure for Board of Elections, assessment, Office of the Aging. So yeah, we're right in it every day.
Well, I'm just thinking out loud for my colleagues, and no answers or proposals here, but you know, perhaps we ought to think at some point about funding something on a temporary or long-term basis through the capital programs and incorporate that into the programs when we start building them at the types of dollars that we're looking at, because clearly there's staffing that's being pulled from other areas of the county to support those efforts. But that's just thinking out loud. Thanks.
Thank you.
Rich.
Yeah, to the extent you can talk about it in public, I'm curious from a headcount standpoint, how much resource you're applying to internet threats and supporting our security people and the sheriff when we get them.
Yeah, I mean, we all know that those threats have increased over the last few months, and between our information security analyst, myself, Kim, other staff, we're spending a lot of time on that, and that adding that other position.
Can you quantify what you're doing at present in terms of headcount, or is it too difficult?
I think it is too difficult. I think we pull in, based on the forensics that we need to run, we'll pull in different people. So, I mean, we had some today. Every day. I mean, we had I'll talk about it. We had a phishing email, a voice phishing in a mailbox left for one of our doctors. And they said that they were from the Department of Homeland Security and that there was something with his license and they needed to call him back. And we vetted it and it was not good. So that took up Lillian's probably an hour and a half of her time today. And we can't sit on those, like these things. So we're constantly prioritizing throughout the day. So what we have planned for the day, it doesn't usually happen because we get these emergent threats that we have to deal with immediately.
Thanks.
24/7.
Okay. Anyone else? Thank you both.
Thank you.
We appreciate your time tonight and helping us learn. Next, we'll go to finance. Daryl, I think you've got a group, right?
Awesome.
Yes, give me a minute to set up my presentation, but I am joined by three of my leadership staff, Drew Drew Brayman, the Deputy Finance Director, Lisa Schott, my Treasury Manager, and Alaric Softly, my Director of Accounting Services.
I'm going to get a drink of water.
First, I want to start off with saying thank you for this opportunity to present my budget. I'm going to start with talking about my department's purpose. The finance director is the county's chief fiscal officer, whose duty is to receive, disperse, and account for all financial transactions of the organization. And my department is responsible for including, but not inclusive, there are other items not mentioned here, maintaining the financial records of the county, auditing and processing all payments, calculating and processing sales tax distribution, coordinating issuance of bonds and related reporting, preparing the annual financial report required by New York State, coordinating public bidding and approval of purchase orders, receipt and custody, including investing of county funds, collection of real property taxes and enforcement of New York State real property tax law, and administering occupancy tax. Now, this is all done under my department through 3 different divisions: accounting, purchasing, and treasury. Now, I put a little statement here that my predecessor used to stay at department head meetings and other places. Finance is your friend. And I think this kind of means a lot to me because even though we may not feel like the other department's friends, we are one of the central admin departments, including HR, IT, and administration, and we are there to help, and anything fiscally related, we touch. I mean, and sometimes, because of where we are best positioned, we are also the, lack of a better word, police officers for our fiscal policies, which is a thankless job sometimes, but because we have to say no when sometimes we don't want to. Also, we're the first line of defense for IRS audits, our annual financial audit, which sometimes keeps us from getting findings, which if we get findings could lead to funding issues. On this slide, I have my FTE report. Now, I will say that my numbers do differ from OpenGov, and I do believe it's due to Snapshot, but I also believe that my last year's OTRs weren't reflected in there, the over targets. So I did put a note there that in 2026, I did request 3 additional FTEs that were not recommended by the county administrator due to fiscal constraints. Now for my narrative.
Sorry, can I just clarify on that? So because it is different than the book, so what is your count, your FTE right now?
16.
Okay.
So in OpenGov, I believe it says 15.
It
and what
does.
it doesn't include is one of my purchasing specialists, which is
Okay.
part of a 2-year OTR.
Okay, so you have 16 right now.
Correct.
Thank you.
And they're all filled except for my recent position, my second deputy, which is in process to be filled. So these are kind of what I call the main factors in my department's decisions for maintenance of efforts and enhancements. One is there's been changes in short-term rental law. Establishments are now required to register and re-register every 2 years. Also, there was changes in real property tax law. All parties now require notification of foreclosure via regular mail and certified mail. Now, before, we only had to send the owner and if they lived in the county. But now, any interested parties, we have to send notification. And currently, whoever has delinquent taxes now has the ability to enter into a tax installment, which was not the case before. Now, both these points increase the load of my staff in the Treasury Division quite a bit because more people have to come in and we're the ones best positioned to process these. My third point is our accounting software. eFinance Plus, which is our accounting software, is on-premise server, is no longer supported. So there is an MOE, a maintenance of effort, to go to the cloud with that software company, Central Square. Now, I took this next one, need for additional staff. My predecessor, Lori Scarrett, had been spouting it many, many times, and I agree with her, and I did reduce it by the number of positions we gained by last year. But I believe my department is still understaffed by approximately 3 to 4 positions, which does not allow for process improvements, analysis, reconciliation, enhanced reporting, training, cross-training, and pretty much just increases the chance of burnout with my staff. And then the last point is just what I've been hearing from not only from the legislature, but from other departments, is an overall want or need for more from the finance department. And I believe that can be in a few categories: increased reporting, improvement on the time it takes for us to respond, and us just to be more proactive rather than reactive. So I did have 3 MOEs, maintenance of effort. The first one is to see, this is where it gets confusing, because we call it e-finance. It's owned by Central Square, but it used to be called Superion, but it was bought from Superion. So it's listed that because that's what the vendor name is still in our software. So as I said before, our current on-prem server is not supported, which makes it a risk. So we are being encouraged very strongly to move to somewhere that's supported. And the next place is the cloud for eFinance Plus. And the increased cost includes upgrading to the next version, which is much like 5.1, but should increase with speed and I think intuity, kind of better user friendliness, moving to the cloud, and an increase in licenses. The increase in licenses has to do not only with the increase in my department, but also with the fact that some of our new policies are making departments go in to put POs, purchase orders, and that does use up licenses, and we're only allowed to have so many at one time. So we've had kind of times where we've been locked out of our system temporarily, where we had to find out who all had open windows. The next maintenance of effort actually is in OpenGov as an enhancement because it is year 2 of 2-year OTR from 2025. What this software is actually 2 software packages. It's to help us with our debt and also help us with GASB 87 and 96, which is lease and SPIDA management. SPIDA is software-based information technology agreements. The reason why it has to be an MOE is because we are in a 3-year contract, and it does. It improves our reporting when it comes to debt and GASB 87 and 96, but it's also for a potential for reduced time needed for financial reporting and audit, because GASB 87 and 96 was one of the many things that held us up in our audit. The third maintenance of effort has to do with our payroll software and the services we pay for payroll processing, tax processing, et cetera. So this is actually in addition to the software itself, which is in administration's budget. What it includes for is any usage of modules above the licenses we pay for annually, which tends to go up as our county staff increases. Last year, we didn't budget enough due to lack of good historic data. We transitioned 2021 to UKG, and so we now have better data that's showing there's been an increase of us going over in those licenses and increasing our need for payroll processing and check writing. Moving forward, I'm going to work and collaborate with county administration to see about increasing the annual licenses, which should help maybe not decrease, but it should level off the increase that happens due to the overages. Now this just lists my maintenance of efforts that I just went in detail. They all have been supported by county administration.
So if I could interrupt.
Yeah.
These aren't necessarily spelled out in the book.
They are to a degree.
I couldn't find the Superion e-finance, whatever
So the
it is.
two, no, you're correct. The two of those maintenance of efforts are not spelled out in there.
Okay, but they're in there.
They're in there,
Okay.
yes. They're
Thank
included
you.
in the totals. I'm going to go over my enhancements that I requested A few of them in a later slide will show which ones were recommended and which were not. The first one is to make our 2025 OTR of the purchasing specialist mentioned earlier go to target. This is necessary as it addressed staffing needs pertaining to procurement improvement and improving response times. And due to our new policy when it comes to purchase orders, just in the past few months, we've tripled in the amount of purchase orders we've done. So it's really necessary to keep this position to even keep above water in that aspect. My enhancement number 2 is Debt Book also has a cash management software we're looking into. Some of the positives of that is it integrates with the debt management software. This should help us implement cash flow projections using statistical models and also increase our reporting capabilities pertaining to cash and banking. One of the things that's really nice is it has real-time connections with the banks once we set them up with the assistance of IT. That should really help make things smoother. The next 3 of my enhancements are all the 3 FTE increase requests that were not recommended by the county administrator. The first one is an additional treasury staff. Being an accountant, we were looking for an analytical position at the very least. This position will assist with the increased administration oversight from the new room tax and real property tax law, but also we'll use this position to analyze cash flows and improve our response time to market rates leading to possible interest revenue growth. And in addition, it'll help support complex banking, cash accounting, and investment analysis and reconciliations, which should help our year-end audit too, because cash seems to be a sticking point near the end. Enhancement number 2 is an additional accounting staff for our accounting division, and this one's at an accountant as well. Should improve response time to requests from county departments. And this one's a big one for me. It's going to help transition some of the year-end accounting and reporting from one of my managers, the Director of Accounting Services. What this should do is free up that position to lead, innovate, and streamline department processes, which I mentioned earlier is something that's lacking in my department due to being understaffed. And also this will kind of increase our bench by increasing our knowledge of high-end accounting, including but not limited to GASB proclamations. So still a lot of our high-end accounting and not the transactional processes are still at the top 3-4 people, which is all the managers and me sitting in meetings like this. So this will help reduce our bottlenecks. Enhancement number 5 is an additional accounting staff of a principal account clerk level. This will improve response times also to requests from county departments. It'll accelerate the availability of required month-end, quarter-end, and year-end reports, increase and improve reconciliation accuracy and timeliness of day-to-day tasks. There are quite a few tasks being done by managers that this position would take over, freeing us up to lead more and be more proactive and be able to take part in some of the projects and items that are being done by county administration and other departments. So enhancement number 6 was I did request to include interest revenue in my department, and this was more just to kind of line up with what my department does. I mean, whether or not we get interest has to do with, you know, the time we take to look at the markets and move around things around within the bank accounts. Now this lists them all out. So county administration did support moving the OTR purchasing specialist to Target and did support the debt book cash management software, but could not support due to fiscal constraints the additional staff, and did not support the moving the interest revenue or a piece of it. We were kind of estimating a percentage of some sort. We didn't come to a final number, but I started with 5%. And in addition to that, county administration did reduce some of our funding. Most of it was scanners. There was some service contracts that we agreed to and we were fine with. And that is the end of my presentation. Any questions?
Yes, we'll go to questions. I see Lee Shirtliff first, then Veronica.
So if you were successful with $100,000 in interest, was that to be dedicated to one of the positions that you were requesting?
In a way, yes. My thought was that new treasury person would help provide a return on investment with that, because they would be the point person to watch everything and know our cash flows. So yes, that was to help cover that.
Okay, thanks.
Veronica?
3 questions. One, I like that request for the interest percentage. That's a sensible incentive structure, I think. Where would doing that affect our tax levy? And also, where does the interest income go in general in the first place, in the status quo?
In general, it goes to 999, what is it,
Unallocated revenue.
unallocated revenue. So it's not really allocated to anyone. And my thought was it would show us more as a revenue driving department. I mean, not completely, but offset, the huge expense of what's necessary as a finance staff. How would that impact? Well, it might impact what we budget in 999 or even in the other department or other funds, because not everything interest related is budgeted in 999. If it's in a different fund altogether, accounting fund, it would be budgeted in there.
That makes sense. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Second question, in the online budget book, there are 7 enhancements listed. It looks like the thing about the debt book, debt and lease BIDA management software is listed as an enhancement in the online book, but you were saying it is not an enhancement.
I think that's a terminology. I mean, in discussing with county administration, I believe it's a maintenance of effort. We have the contract, and at this point, we're at least obligated for 3 years with that contract, so.
Okay, that makes sense. My only issue is the numbers don't match up between the book and there, but they're,
Yeah, I was
the
over here
names
doing
and
the same thing, so
the priority numbers
I'll
don't.
check with staff and
The
see what
dollar
happened
numbers
there.
do, it's fine, I get it.
Well, and I may have copied something to the presentation.
Wait, you're an
Yeah.
accountant.
Well, we all have mistakes.
My last question doesn't have to be now, but if they're up for it, you have so many of your staff who've taken the time to be here, and I don't think we all know all of them. We probably all know Drew. Could you introduce them?
He did.
Yeah. So you know Drew, but we have Lisa Schott, who is a treasury manager. Alaric Softly, yes, thank you. Please stand, Lisa.
Take a bow.
And Alaric Softly is the director of accounting services. My purchasing manager, Joyce Burke, could not be here. She recently got married, and she's on vacation, enjoying it. So.
That's more fun.
Rich, but wait a minute. I've got Randy first, then Rich.
Yeah, I think it's important to focus on managing our cash or whatever cash we do have. I think we've been over $5.5 million in revenue the last 2 years managing our cash, so it's very important to do that. The services that finance does, I'm trying to understand more. And actually, this is a question actually for the Government Operations Committee. Do you report to that committee for the operations side of finance? I'm looking for efficiencies and what you're talking about a lot of things that could be improvements operationally, but who does that report to on the committee?
Yeah.
I apologize. That's not 100% clear to me. I know I do report to the budget and capital. I do show up for the government operations and normally present any policy changes or anything like that.
I think that's something we should really look at carefully, is how we can improve operations and using technology and all those things to plan for the things you want to do. I asked you the other day about how we're managing billing of real estate taxes. All that goes to the finance department, all the bills are sent out from finance to all the homes for real estate taxes. Is that how it works?
I'm gonna
Assessment
You want to come up and speak, Lisa, or? I think I know the answer, but I think they'd do a much better job.
Sure.
Yeah, assessment originates all the real estate tax bills, and they disperse them to the towns, and then the towns mail them out for the first 3 months. The towns collect. When the towns don't collect, they're turned over to us for collecting on April 1st. They become delinquent. And then whatever wasn't collected by the town comes to us to be collected.
So the real estate locations that receive some type of abatement or on a pilot agreement, is that something separate, or is that through finance, or how does that work?
You don't want me to talk about pilots. Pilot agreements, I do all the billing for those, and I bill them out on January 1st.
And do we get reimbursed in any way from the IDA to pay for your work on that, or is that just
Absolutely
out of
not.
our pocket?
No.
I think that would be a good idea, that whenever, that we somehow we should be, these people getting these pilot agreements should have to pay for us to process them. That's just my thought, so. And manage the cost. I still don't understand, frankly, on IDA, all the tax benefits that we get out in the revenue as it would increase over time. I'd love to see a report to see that we've given some tax abatement for something for $50 million, and it's a 10-year agreement, and how do those taxes change over time? Because in theory, you're increasing your real estate values over time, and it should reduce our taxes, in theory. So I'd be interesting to know how all that works.
Rich, excuse me, but I skipped Shauna. Shauna?
You know what, I turned my page, that's all right. Why don't you go to Rich and
Okay, Rich,
find
go
my
ahead.
page again.
Thank you, Lisa.
Go back to Shauna.
Yeah, I'm getting a little dizzy thinking about the payment for the administrative cost on the pilots, because we help fund the IDA, so we would be paying the IDA to pay ourselves. But I do have a question, which is an unfair one, I think, but of the 3 positions that were not supported, which one would you think would have the most impact for you?
The most impact would be the position within our Treasury division for many reasons, and one that I did not include in the presentation. First of all, due to the 5% cut, we eliminated a position that did come out of Treasury, which now is showing some strain in processing taxes and all that. But also, I think having someone to help analyze, I think the sky's the limit, and as long as all the variables when it comes to interest rates, you know, we need to be on the ball better. So having someone who's analyzing and predicting our cash flow and helping us with all that would be a big help.
So it'd be the accountant and the treasurer.
Correct. I put it on an accountant because I'm looking for an analytical position, but I am going to work with HR to see if there's something around there, maybe not necessarily that, but it will be that position or lower.
Thank you.
Shauna, you ready?
Oh, sure am, yep. I noticed that under the line item, all other contractual services, there was a $50,000 increase. And then for professional services, there was a $40,000 decrease. Have these numbers essentially, are you just relocating one of the line items from one to another, or is there justification for one going up and one going down?
So the increase in the service contract line, a lot of that had to do with the move to the cloud for e-finance. That made a good chunk of it, along with our request for the cash management software.
Okay.
So the professional services, I think that had to do with a decrease of some of the auditing services that we used to pay for in this department that we don't anymore.
Okay. And then my other question was in regards to room tax. Is that hotel room tax?
Yes.
Okay, as far as revenues. I guess I'm wondering, my understanding is that we're down this year for hotel room tax from previous years. And then I see for next year, you're estimating that we're going to, for this year, you estimated that we're going up. And then I think for next year, you estimated that you're going up, I don't know,
So that is a fixed amount
Okay.
that's allocated to my department for the services we do for room tax.
Okay.
And that's comes from, I believe, Nick in room tax.
Okay.
That's right.
I'm just concerned that if we know there was a decrease, and it looks like it's not actually provided until year end, that it's not accounted for. And if you're going to increase last year's amount, and we know it was less than you're estimating, you're going to be even further not hitting your numbers next year.
So if you're talking about the year-to-date being blank, that has to do with, that is done by my department, pretty much reallocating the revenue from the original room tax line to our department, and that doesn't happen until the end of the year.
Yeah, I figured that.
And, I mean, I can talk to Nick to see, but those were figures he gave me.
Okay, I just think that's going to be down, because we know that it was down from last year, and it has it as increase from last year.
Randy?
Yeah, back on room tax. So the room tax law changed, right? So and we're projecting more revenue from room tax, is that? I think I remember seeing that last meeting.
Yeah, and we're giving it all to the airport.
Well, besides that, but is that your responsibility, or does that go through planning and sustainability? Do they manage all that, or are you going to be doing extra work for these funds in some way, or is that?
This is sales tax he's referring to, the additional sales tax.
The sales tax?
I'm talking room tax.
We're
going to get, I thought, a projection of additional $1.2 million in room
Yeah,
tax.
it's the sales tax on the short-term rentals.
So that would go into the sales tax
It's a
bucket.
sales tax bucket, yeah.
So it's not going to go in the room tax bucket?
Well, either one, my department would be the one processing it.
Right.
So any increase in it would increase the work we would have to do.
Okay, that was my question. Thank you.
Anyone else? All right, Daryl, good job. We sure appreciate having everyone from your department here.
So, I'm sorry, Mike, just to confirm, Randy, I think what you're asking is the Airbnb tax separate from the hotel room tax?
Yeah.
Yes, I believe they are separate. And I think the Airbnb tax is the one that we're talking about allocating to the airport.
So that's sales tax,
That's
not
right.
hotel
Sales, that's
tax.
right.
Okay,
That's
correct.
right.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're going to take 10 minutes. We'll be back at 7:20.
Got 2 more to go.
We should be used to it.
Let's get started. We've got 2 more presentations. Let's see if we can go through them. Ithaca Area Economic Development.
Sure.
And I think Kurt Anderson is here. And we are on book.
I have thoughts.
Big book, page 357.
You guys want to call it?
Welcome. And whenever you're ready, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you all. And thank you for accommodating my travel schedule next week and advancing this so I could be here in person. I'm Kurt Anderson, Director of Operations with Ithaca Area Economic Development. I'm going to use IAED pretty frequently. And I'll try to make that the only acronym. Oh, Maestro's frisky over there. I generally operate in the operations lane, but in the absence of a president, I kind of fill many other roles, and this is one of them. So this is my first time in front of you. Please be gentle. Maestro?
Oh, we're great to get along with. Just go right into it.
I know most of you, but some of you are either not involved with IAED or involved tangentially, so I thought we're kind of in the middle of a 5-year commitment from you, and we'll get to that in a second. So I want to take the opportunity just to kind of educate everybody on what we do. I come from a non-economic development background, so when I onboarded almost 6 years ago, we used a ton of jargon, like not unlike a lot of other industries, but one of my many hats is coordinating our marketing consultant, and I insisted that we simplify things to a more digestible message. So I'm presenting that to you tonight in a way that I understand it, and I hope it works for you too. So economic development is important for a couple reasons, primary reasons I would say, and that is creating jobs that increase the tax base and improve quality of life. It's not a passive process, it's a very active process. I mean, some things are tough to quantify, but it takes effort. IAED is an accredited economic development organization. We were the first in New York State. There are now 2, and one of about 80 across North America. And every 3 years, we go through the reaccreditation process, and it's pretty rigorous. And it effectively confirms the fact that we follow high ethical standards, financial standards, et cetera. So we'll be coming into our 2nd reaccreditation this February. We are the economic development organization in Tompkins County. If you boil it all down to the bone, what we do is build relationships, build and maintain relationships. We convene partners and stakeholders, and we reduce barriers. Effectively, we navigate the process. It's the key word that we like to use is that it's very customized. It depends on the project, on what the county's needs are, et cetera. So it's, every one is a little bit different. Maestro, next slide. We like to say that we operate in the traded sector. That doesn't necessarily mean that companies are publicly traded, but effectively we work mostly with the companies that produce goods and services here, employ people here, pay taxes here, and distribute those items elsewhere. A couple examples of the industries we work with: manufacturing, high tech, food and beverage. We even dabble in tourism, support the county on the Tourism Capital Grants Program. Anything that brings outside money in. And to date, by quick count, the companies that we have supported over time have tentacles into 20 states, Canada, and the UK. So we've, little old Ithaca, staff of 4 currently, soon to be 5, has pretty wide range. Maestro? So this is one thing that helped me out a lot when I started, was we were all over the place on what we did. And I said, we got to boil this down. We got to make this simple. So we operate in 3 strategic pillars that you see in front of you. Direct services is our bread and butter. That has been with us since our inception. That is the relationships with businesses, the lending, and the financial incentives packages. A couple of years ago, at the insistence of the county and others, we moved into workforce development. There's certainly a role for economic development organizations in workforce. It doesn't compete with county workforce efforts. We complement it, and most of you may know that we complex actually with the Workforce Development Board, which provides good collaboration on that front. And then this is where I operate mostly, which is the other duties as assigned bucket, economic development leadership. So it's the special projects and the thought leadership, all the other oddballs. That's where I'm at. So that's the third pillar there. Next slide, please. So we're gonna just dribble through these a little bit, and it's gonna be a 10,000-foot view, but we are tasked as the administrative agent of the Industrial Development Agency and the Development Corporation. So, the tax incentives to stimulate large-scale projects through the IDA, and then its little sister, which is the conduit to the nonprofit bond market. We did a lot more of those before the state offered a similar package, but we still operate in that sphere. So Cuga Medical, for instance, just went through bonding with us. So the general rule of thumb is that if it involves a crane, it's come through us. There are other projects that don't work, but it's the but-for projects, the projects that would not operate but for the tax incentives. Those come to us. So you see a crane, IAD's touched it. Next slide, please, Maestro. We also have revolving loan funds, plural, but they're all created for the same purpose, and that's gap financing for high growth potential companies, not startups, not established companies, those that have proof of concept and are ready to grow. These funds generally are the last in and the first out, right? So if somebody defaults, it's us that's getting hit first. But those were populated a fair amount of time ago with monies that for that explicit purpose, right? We go through the underwriting process that's very similar to traditional lending institutions, but our clients are riskier. They are, and largely they pay, right? And it's for the qualified purposes that you see in there. One slide that I don't have a slide for it, but that underpins the IDA, the DC, the direct services. We have a very comprehensive, what's called a BRNE program, business retention and expansion, right? It's a systematic visitation of businesses of various sizes at strategic times, and what keeps you up at night, what are your needs, what are your interests, where do you want to go, an inventory of those questions that really drive a lot of the work that we do in this sphere. Maestro. I think looking back at previous year's presentations, and I think even last year, Heather was in here kind of giving a rundown on our workforce development efforts. Again, this is new to us, about 3 years. This is our direct-to-work Pathways to Manufacturing program. So that's a 5-week paid training where participants get industry-recognized certifications and at least one guaranteed interview with a manufacturer of their choice. This kind of touches even on BRNE, the business retention expansion that I mentioned in the previous slide, that we had planned to run a summer cohort of the direct-to-work Pathways to Manufacturing program, but nearly half of the 9 participating manufacturers, over the course of our conversations with them, had expressed concern about the potential for tariff costs, and that they really support the program and they'd be happy to conduct the field tours that are part of that program, but that they wouldn't be hiring just due to the financial uncertainty. So ultimately, we didn't think that that was a valuable exercise to move forward and run these participants through a program where a job didn't exist at the end, so we set that aside. But that information comes from those interpersonal relationships, and then we can make a decision on go or no go. Maestro, next slide. So, in the absence of a direct-to-work Pathways to Manufacturing cohort this summer, Mira Kuryetov, our workforce program manager, is pouring her energy and effort into our second workforce development program, and that's Tompkins Build Pathways to Apprenticeship. So 11 participating unions. This is an 11-week paid training course. Again, similar certifications. The idea is to work with those folks that need a little bit of assistance to get into a trades apprenticeship through a local union. They don't have to, but they're exposed to, what that is, how that works, right? And they get those skills, and there have been some great success stories in the limited runs that we've had so far, but gearing up for another one. And this one's really fascinating for two reasons. One, the first cohort, which has already graduated, and this one going on now, for which we're recruiting, we're talking 150 people at least that go through the intake process. And we have funding enough to whittle that to 15. 15 people out of 150 in 2 cohorts. It's crazy. So a lot of our attention and thought has been around expanding this program in particular. And I will say it extends up to Southworks, that site is poised to get all kinds of funding related to workforce. So, and working regionally on collaborative things that use the same industry partnership model that we use, but trying to expand that and impact across the region. So workforce rightly was put on us, and that's a great fit for us. So, all right, Maestro. And the last one's, like I said, the bucket that I operate in, and that's other duties is assigned. It's all kinds of things. Some projects right now are the countywide economic development strategy, which is on draft, on hold until the new president arrives. I've spent a lot of time on microchips. So where do we fit in the supply chain, right? We're not going to compete against Syracuse or Binghamton in certain aspects of the supply chain. So where do we fit and how do we collaborate? And then broadband connectivity, not just the big project we have going around through Lansing, Groton, 56 miles of broadband. We're also engaged regionally on those services. So a lot of the work that I do and a lot of the work that happens in this pillar is regional in scope, right? It's trying to make sure that we're not in our isolated bubble here, that we are partnering effectively and taking advantage of the opportunities to work with our regional partners who have been standoffish at times. And so we're trying to bridge that gap and make sure that they see us, and I won't show my hand yet, but I think that's working, and I think it's going to manifest itself in a ton of money coming in for workforce and other programs in short order. So, next slide, Maestro. So I'm not here really to ask for anything extra. We effectively are funded in roughly 3 equal parts, right? So it's the county government, it's fee for services or contract services. So that's administration of the IDA, the DC, a couple other grants that we manage. And then our employer investors. So those are businesses that know us, believe in us, and see value in the work that they do. The linchpin of all of that, the foundation, is your 5-year commitment to us. So in 23, task force was convened. A few of you were on that, and I think you were there, to present the case, to project out on what our 5-year goals are, our 5-year anticipated financial needs are, and then secure your commitment, which then allows us to go out to those investors and say, hey, look, the county put in this much money. Can you meet us there, right? So that's the critical piece. And as I mentioned, the budget for 2026 is smack dab in the middle of a 5-year, it's year 3 of 5. Right, so you're really not, I haven't thought out that far. Right now I'm just trying to keep my head above water with ghost runners on all bases, it feels like. But realistically, it'll be another 2 years before you see us come around and talk about what we do and the value. I mean, in a structured way, of course, we can have ad hoc conversations as needed. But so that's how we're funded. The county, you all, rough math, 1.7 million over 5 years, made that commitment, and that allowed us to go out and get 1.9 from our employer investors as well. Next slide, please. That is tough to see. So, fortunately, I gave each of you our annual report, which is in front of you, and that is in there, and you can read it up close at your leisure. The takeaways here are that we exceeded our 5-year goals, in year one of new property taxes, new housing and affordable units, and private investment. A lot of that had to do with Southworks. So we record metrics on the year that they were closed or booked, and it happened to be that Southworks went through the IDA last year, so that all counted in there. But I'm also happy to say that we hit our workforce goals as well. I mean, that was straight across the board. We did everything we were supposed to do, and then percent local labor. Yeah, Deborah?
Yeah, so I just want to be sure I understand. This 46.9 in new property tax is over the life of the Southworks pilot agreement?
And there were a couple others too, and some loans that
Yeah,
closed the same
but they're kind of dwarfed by.
Yes,
Yeah.
largely watered down by Southworks, yes.
Yeah.
So those are the anticipated property taxes from the application, right?
Thank you.
And Lee referenced earlier a report on the, what was projected and what was received, and I won't speak for Kelly, who's the administrator of the IDA, but that makes sense, right? To see if those numbers flesh out over time. Fortunately, some of those projects take a long time to complete, so we'll have to look at the data set on whether that's accurate or whether we need to wait a little bit longer. But anyway, again, I've left you the annual report. Feel free to browse it and ask any questions whenever you've got them. Maestro, next slide. This is also in your annual report. This is our 60th anniversary. So we were founded or incorporated in October of 1964. So we are rolling toward the end of our 60th, but from a shoebox on the side of a volunteer's desk with a shoestring budget, really intended to promote business development at the B&T Park to where we are now. Which is stimulating billions of dollars in investment, thousands of jobs that can be attributed to the work that we do. And, we've had a dozen or more staff over in the last 20 years, 30 years. So rolling on and gaining momentum too. And if you go to the next slide, I'd like to highlight. I work with some of the most competent and dedicated people there are. And I'm not saying that. I had to say that at the annual meeting. And there were other people on board, but I mean it. These people are fabulous. Kelly, the administrator of the IDA, Mira Kuryetov, wicked smart, Canadian, so kind of a goofy sense of humor. And Ina, who is the glue, and I think was underappreciated for a long time, and we try to elevate her every chance we get. And I'll tell you, the blood pressure in the office is at a very reasonable volume. And we get a lot of work, but we really do it for each other. And little update on the president. I think the search committee, of which I'm not a part, has gone or will very soon go through the qualified applicants that the internet or the national headhunter has found. And as far as I understand it, interviews late September, early October. I mean, it's coming along. Now you can reasonably expect that a person in a leadership position would need a little bit of time to transition in, but I think we got the ship going in the right direction. It's calm, and we're doing what we got to do, and we're all looking forward to that 5th position. So, and looking forward to introducing that person to you, and then slinking back to our home. And that's really who we are and what we do. Again, please take time to review the annual report. I'm very approachable. I look mean, but I'm not. That's it. Maestro, you can go to the last slide, which is just questions for any of you folks.
Well, we got some hands. I see Shauna's, I see Randy's, I see Lee's. No? Thought I saw Lee's.
Great. Hi, Kurt. Would you be able to tell us how many new businesses have moved to Ithaca this year?
New businesses that moved. I don't know.
Okay.
Because I don't have, I think if we quantified those businesses that are in our sectors, I could probably do that.
Okay.
I don't have a number on any little business that might have come in. And I will say, I referenced business retention and expansion earlier. That's largely working with companies that exist here and helping them grow. traditionally not been very focused on the A part of that. There's an A, the attraction part. I do think that's going to change. We've started to give that a little bit more attention, and I think it helps that we have taken this opportunity over the last 6 months to reset with our regional partners, and I think that's going to lead to good things. Will we be the Silicon Valley? I don't think so, but I think there's a lot more potential than we've tapped into yet.
Okay. And then is Tompkins County considered an investor?
Yes, I think so.
We're not on your program.
Yeah, great question.
Yeah.
Not on the chart.
Yeah, we're not on your chart anywhere.
Well, I will fix that.
Okay, thank you.
It's also on the website, which is being refreshed, and I'll make sure it's on the website.
Thank you.
Yeah, and then I will also, similar to Monty Python, I will sack those responsible for the sacking.
No, don't do that. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for pointing that out.
Randy?
Yeah, thanks for being here. I really like the Tompkins Build program you're running. There was an event at the Newfield Library, and it was well attended. A lot of people are really focused on it, and thanks for doing that. I think it's a real opportunity, and we need people doing those jobs. So
Yeah, so those are information sessions that are spread across the county and even creep over into Cortland County, realizing that it's a commuter hub. So they happen all over the place at TC3, the Newfield. Every muni gets at least one. We host them at our office. That's the best way to get that information out to a small group of people.
it was well attended, so appreciate for doing that. How do we pay if you're economic development? Do you bill us quarterly, or is it based on expenses, or are we just giving you an allotment of funding? How does that work?
Yeah, so that's an INA question, and I think we bill once. I don't know, who can help me with this? Where's the finance team?
Daryl might be able to do it. Or
From the county, that Daryl's
Are they quarterly, or are they?
I think it's quarterly, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's like the end of every quarter. It's
Yeah.
not the beginning, it's the end of every quarter.
Is it the actual expenses or the contract itself?
Generally, it's a contracted expense.
Fixed amount.
That's a fixed amount that gets billed back to the.
Okay, the reason I ask, because you're going to be under budget quite a bit this year, looks like, based on these numbers here. So would the extra funds go into your reserve? Do you have a reserve?
We'll, through hard work of Ina and myself this year, due to all the transition, we will come out flush.
Okay.
Due to expenditures that were unanticipated. I think we're going to balance this budget.
May just see a timing thing then here, okay. All right, thank you.
But it's for equal installments of the annual commitment.
Okay.
Yep.
Deborah?
Yeah, this isn't really a question. I just wanted to compliment Kelly Bada. She's been doing a really great job at the IDA, and we all enjoy working with her. So
Yep.
please let her know.
Oh, she feels it. We talk about it a lot. The IDA is a big.
It's a big job.
Quite frankly, it's the biggest funding source we have, and it is a full-time job in itself. The packaging, the dealing with the clients, customers, the public, and she is perfectly suited for that, and I'm so proud that she transitioned in that role and feels the support from you all at the IDA as well. She has it. Her general MO is stress that she heaps on herself, but your support and our help in the office, just saying, we got you, we'll help you out, and it's made a world of difference, and I think she's in it for the long haul.
She covers it up pretty well.
Oh, she's great, yeah. She drinks a lot of coffee.
Ann?
Thanks for the presentation, Kurt. Maybe I missed it, but so you lost one workforce person this year.
Mm-hmm.
Are you going to rehire and add another person so that you'll have two people again?
I will say yes, and then I will caveat that with ultimately, this is the answer that I've been giving for the last several months. Yes, but that will be the decision of the next president. And I think that's very much going to happen because there's a lot of momentum in that field. The ad hoc conversations that Mira and I have had is not too dissimilar from Lauren and his colleague that we're talking about IT is, do you hire at the upper level or do you redistribute roles and responsibilities and hire at the lower level and then grow them in. So those are the conversations we've had, but I don't get to make that decision.
Because I know for a number of years, the county was wanting some workforce staff in there. And so, and I know at one point, I think we codified it in our agreement between IAED and the county. So, and maybe it's just for one person, I don't know, but so that might be, and maybe as the new person comes in and meets with the county, we can make sure that whatever was, I believe whatever was put in there is still being carried through.
Yeah, like I said, I think that's absolutely going to happen, but I appreciate you pointing this out, and I will look at it so that when that new person comes in, I can say, hey, we're mandated or we've agreed to hire a second position. So I will look at that. I've never seen it, but I can find it.
And I just wanted to mention, I'm glad, since I don't go to IDA meetings anymore, but I'm glad to see over the years getting the requirement that developers that get tax abatements hire local labor whenever possible. We were hoping that as the years that follow, there would be an uptick in the people that were wanting to get into the trades. And so I think we're seeing it now.
Flooded.
So it's taken over many years. And so it's nice to see that, so that the trades now need more people. They always need more people, but they have the jobs. And so they have the jobs locally. So it's good to see people, starting to get more back into the trades, because these are good paying, I don't know if people have looked at it, but they're good paying jobs that help people be able to live here in an area that's very expensive to live.
Two points on that. One, you may or may not know, now we contract with a third-party monitoring firm, Loki Brill out of Rochester, who does a lot of IDA monitoring. The compliance piece for a few bad actors, I will enjoy watching the new contractor work. They hold them accountable. They show up randomly on sites. They're looking at IDs. This will be fun for me.
Right, and I believe they have to pay for it too. The developers have to pay for their own monitoring.
We structured it beautifully. But that's one thing, is Kelly gets more versed in the application packaging, the presentation, the public-facing part. I'm still helping on the local labor part. I mean, that's the type of team that we have. And say, I got you over here. At some point we'll hand that off, but that's one that I love. We've been on local labor since the inception, so that's kind of fun, and I'm glad to see it progressing over time.
Yeah.
Veronica?
On that same note, I think I'm looking at this page in the report with your 5-year goals and numbers, and I just had a couple of questions about things that I don't know what it means. One of them says, under leadership, it says construction labor, 75%. Does that mean 75% local?
That's correct, yeah.
Okay.
So that's the requirement for any developer getting an incentive. They have to meet, unless there's an affordable housing carve-out, but 75%. So that was the new policy, and I want to say that was 2023. Projects that were approved by the IDA prior to that did not have to meet that threshold. They just had to report. So what I did when I started, and still do, is that's still valuable information, even if they don't have to meet that threshold. So that provides the basis for our planning and setting and reevaluating thresholds. But the current threshold for any project that's approved now is 75%.
Thank you. And then I guess also on this page, there's these 3 colored bits here saying construction, on-site jobs, and countywide. This is about Southworks. Are all 3 of those numbers about jobs?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. So 879 through a feasibility study that I think the IDA supported, evaluating how many construction jobs needed for the 10-year duration of that estimated duration of that project, then on-site jobs afterwards, and then the countywide impact.
And do you know if the 49 million in construction wages, predicted construction wages here, is total wages or just local wages coming to people from this county?
Great question. I do not know.
And go ahead.
I can revisit the report and get back to you.
Okay, yeah, I'd be curious. And last thing, congrats on, hitting most of your 5-year goals in 1 year. One outlier is the MWBE businesses served, says 0%.
Yep.
Can you elaborate on what does that mean? 0 out of how many? And do you have a plan for moving that toward the goal of 30?
No, yeah, so that is one, right, we are behind on. The idea being that, I don't know if it was a number, I think it was 80% goal here. I'm sorry, 30% MWBEs, right? And as doing passive work on that, we ended up at 0. So 0 is not going to work to get us to our 30% goal, obviously. So one of the things that we had discussed, mind you, this is a massive year of transition, and we are trying to float a lot of different things, but largely revolves around those BR&E services, the lending, really getting out there in the community at various events that engage those businesses that are MWBEs, but also fall in the traded sector categories, right? Of being more proactive and out there on the street. Unfortunately, we just don't have staff yet, but that is is being baked into our work plan for next year, assuming the president starts in short order. Yeah, we noticed that as well, and I don't like it either.
I wanted to ask, we know there's been a lot of focus on Southworks and South Hill in the last 3 years. What kind of focus are you putting toward the Cornell Industrial Park? We've been hearing that some of those folks up there aren't doing so well.
Yeah, so that's a great question. With the exit of Phil Prudjansky, that put that chess piece back into play, right? So for a long time, we'd been really stymied in marketing, couldn't get a hold of them. There wasn't much we could do because we didn't know what was there, who was there, what their needs were. The bank took receivership of that property. And I can say I was at a meeting with Tompkins officials, Omar Sanders, Cornell representatives saying, okay. And that's the first time I've ever seen an inventory of space, what the space is outfitted to do, who's in it, who wants it, what's moving. It is active right now, and we definitely are paying a lot of attention to that property.
That's good to hear.
Is this being live broadcast?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, don't go into anything that's confidential.
There's a lot of interest in big things happening up there, and we are helping facilitate that. The job that we do is make introductions, get people together, ask questions, make sure that the information's there, and be prepared to, then we get out of the conversations that are happening, but we've got our finger on the pulse. But yes, that is back in action for sure.
Thank you. Rich?
Yeah, just for clarity, I mean, certainly the financial aspect of the whole park was in question, but the tenants there's a lot of very successful businesses. I don't want to leave anybody with the impression that the businesses there haven't been operating. I agree with you completely, there's a lot of opportunity, but there's a lot of stable businesses that have been there a long time. And
and I won't mention names, it's not confidential, but the businesses largely that are there are businesses that IED or the IDA has touched, and come to find out, sitting there with Omar from the Regional Economic Development Council, we've incentivized those and those and those and those. So we have shared interest in watching those grow and succeed.
Yeah, and I noticed in the book, Tet Medical has some really innovative ideas. If they can bring them to market, they're up there. So, yeah, good example.
I mean this. I think great things are ahead. I think we're poised, we at IED, through your support and that of our investors, to ready to go into the stratosphere. We've got a great core team. We get the right leader. Anything's possible.
Anyone else? Kurt, thank you so much for being here, and you've been helping us a lot.
Yeah, thanks for your support. Appreciate it.
And our last presentation tonight is from our assigned council program. Lance Salisbury is here. This is page 91 in the big book,
He's going to have good news for us.
and we were supposed to start him at 7. So we're a little behind. Sorry. Thank you for your patience, Lance.
It's 7 somewhere.
7 something.
Good evening, everyone. I'll try to be kind of succinct and move through this. We can go ahead and jump ahead. As you know, we're the next slide is just kind of background. Remind everyone in terms of mandated representation. We cover basically all criminal matters, most family court matters. For those who meet the requirements, the eligibility requirement is financial is 250% of the federal poverty guideline. That's set by the state. All of those guidelines are set by the state, and then we just apply them to people employing them. The next slide you'll see we've been stable in our staffing. We have 6 full-time staff. That's what we're at this point projecting for next year. I guess from the county financial standpoint, the good thing is we have a significant portion of those staffing costs are covered by the state. We have three of the employees are fully covered either through the Schuyler agreement or ILS grants are fully state funded. A portion of my salary and a portion of the program administrator salary, a tiny portion of the secretary's salary are also all state monies on that. You'll see the next slide so we have our two budget lines, 1170, which is the administrative costs of the department itself, and then 1171, which is our mandated costs, are the bigger section of our budget. The main budget impacts there are mandated costs have increased the last couple of years due mainly to the impact of the increase in 18B hourly rates for the attorneys, and then the impact of discovery reform, which has increased work, more discovery materials for the attorneys to review, hence more work, more billing on those. The increase in 18B rates, part of that's coming from, in part, was designed to put more focus on misdemeanor cases by increasing that rate up to the felony rate. It's been successful in that. We see more work on the misdemeanor cases and resulting better outcomes for those. That increases the costs, of course. The increase in our mandate rates has been offset for the most part by an increase in state money aid to the program. That is our state money. We get all of our grant money that we receive is New York state aid. We don't have any federal aid money. And that all comes, most of it comes to the Office of Indigent Legal Services, which is the state overseer for mandated representation. And then more recently, we've started also to get funding through the Department of DCJS, Department of Criminal Justice Statistics on that. So those are our sources of state funding. One thing you're going to note there, if you look in the budget book, you'll see the increase in expenses under 1171 popped. Fiscal year 2024 represents the big increase. That's the increase in 18B rates in discovery hitting us. That's probably going to be our new baseline somewhere in there. You'll see this year we've estimated $4,595,000. That's a reflection of the increase, kind of our new baseline. but also projecting, we're in a bubble right now, we're a phase right here where clients are much more active on trials. Yet, one of the judges stated, they all have their own facts now, and that's what they're going with. And so some of these trials are trials that should happen. Some of them are trials, all the attorneys agree, I look at them and agree, no, that shouldn't go to trial. And clients says, I don't care, I want a trial. That's their constitutional right. We go to trial. And we're going to have, so we try to capture that. We're going to have an increased number of trials. We have a 2 or 3 defendant trial scheduled for December. That'll be a couple of weeks. That'll bill into 2026. We have another 2 defendant trial. That'll be a multi-week trial in January. And then we know we're going to have multiple more in 2026. That's why you see that bigger number. But I think our baseline is probably going to be roughly around that actual 2024 number you see. It may fluctuate a little bit, and that's mainly criminal costs that where we're seeing that. The good news is we've increased our state aid at the same time to pull that down. You'll see we've been able to maintain the local share costs roughly the same. What you're going to see, you see our original recommended there is 2,244,127. The good news I could give you is since the budget book was printed, we got notification from the state. We're getting additional state aid money on the family court side. So that and some other adjustments we were able to make that my understanding you're going to deal with during the amendment process when you're voting. You'll actually see that change. But we'll be down, the net county share will be down to about 1.944127, about $300,000 less because there's about $300,000 more in state aid. So, so some good news there with all those costs.
Yeah, we like that kind of good news.
Yeah, it's, on that. We can run through the next 2 if you want and get to the last one. We don't have the MOE you see, and nothing there, and no enhancements for this year. And then the last thing is on our 1170 line, we were able to, we originally came up with some reductions, and then we were able to sit down with admin as they were, trying to come up with more money to cut. We found some additional cuts that you see reflected there, about another 24,000 and some dollars, which is not a lot, but we don't have much to cut there. We were able to find things like the computer equipment, some of those things we're able to now achieve with reimbursement from the state. We're able to pass on some of those local costs. Yet, and then we've been able to, by transitioning from reduce our use of mailing, we're now able to work with the local courts and the DA's office and a lot of our clients all through electronic messaging. Instead of mailing letters and documents, we send them via email. That's reduced our postage costs, our paper costs. So we're able to get savings there, which isn't much, but I guess every 24,000, those add up to become something significant. So that's about it. Because I know you've been here a long time, I can open it up for questions on that. Our budget is simpler compared to a lot of the departments.
Let's take questions. Everyone's sitting here ready to go home. Lance, that's one good thing about being the last person, I guess. Maybe we won't have so many questions. It doesn't mean we aren't interested in your program. It's a lot of money.
Yeah.
And we certainly appreciate the fact that you're on top of this and bringing us some news about more grant money. And you're still dealing with Schuyler?
We still deal with Schuyler. We're negotiating the new amendment to that to extend it. In the Schuyler, you'll see in the 1170 line, the 128,000, figure one, under other local government contribution, the 128,860, that's the Schuyler, that'll be the new number for 2026 for the Schuyler intermunicipal agreement.
Shauna.
Yeah, I had a few questions. I wanted to ask about under the adopted budget and the consolidated budget for all other contractual services. I wanted to see why for year to date for year 2025 you're currently over budget 23,000.
That reflects. Sorry, I'm looking for the line while I talk. I know what that is, probably because most of our state reimbursements for this year are going to come third and fourth quarter.
Okay.
Part of that is because we renegotiating a new distribution. The way our grants, we have one big grant or statewide expansion grant, then we have other distributions, and they roll one after one. They kind of roll into a new one every time.
Okay.
We've been negotiating the renewal of the new one, and that covers some of the staff costs. So we'll get the entire year reimbursed, but we're going to see that at the end of the year we'll catch up and pull us back down.
Okay, and then I wanted to see for professional services, you have budgeted 133,785, and there's been nothing spent this year, but also you have nothing on that line item for next year.
Is that the 1172 you're looking at? Or?
The ones in our books do not have account numbers, so it's.
Okay, I'm sorry, let me.
I'm looking at the online, and I think, yeah, it's the 1172 that zeroes out.
I think a decision was made. We used to maintain the 1172 was the Schuyler line, covered the Schuyler group, and they decided to fold that into 1170.
Okay, gotcha.
Moving forward, just simplify.
Sounds good, thank you.
Randy?
Yes, thanks for being here and staying late for us. How do you handle your finances? How do you get invoices from people who are representing people? Do you process them all and then send them to finance for payment? But you're doing all the reconciliation and monitoring and verifying that they've actually spent that amount of time on a particular case? And
yeah, there's kind of a twofold process. An invoice from an attorney, I review and approve it. The judge in charge of the case also normally reviews and approves it. And the judge has a sense, obviously, in when they're in court and what they're doing. And then I review, I can tell, basically, I can look at a voucher and tell if something seems wrong or off, or why is something more, why is this larger than I'd expect? A lot of attorney invoice will be meetings, correspondence with the client, correspondence, meetings with the DA, court time, then legal research, reviewing discovery. So I can look at those and have a sense from the type of case if there's something that seems off. And the judge has a sense of that too from the nature of the case. That's our process. Then we process them. We have an e-voucher system. We try to move most of them on our e-voucher system. We still have some paper vouchers. So the staff, we go through the staff. We don't trust my math. So the staff checks the numbers on every voucher. And sometimes we have to make corrections. Attorneys aren't always the best mathematicians. But we do all, we double check all the numbers and everything. We review the work, and then it goes to finance, and they process that. It's the same. Our 1171 line is basically the attorneys, then all the specialized support services, any expert, and the experts are approved ahead of time, so we know what that is. Use of investigators, social workers, that all comes through and goes to finance. We prepare the reimbursements that we send to the state, and then we give a copy to finance, and then they inform us when the state actually pays the money. But that's kind of the basics of how so we have a couple of our grants and training coordinator and one of our administrative people that do a lot of that work. And then it comes to me and I review and approve. And then either before me or after me, a judge will approve.
Yeah, I went to a local town court with somebody who had to go before the judge. And the judge asked before everything started if there's anybody here that needed representation that didn't have it. And which I thought was a good question. And 3 people said, I need representation, including the person I was with. And then they met with him right there.
Yeah.
Before they went before the judge to say what they were going to plead. So I just wanted to share it with you. So.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, and that's actually covered. We have a state grant that allows us to pay someone to do that. They get a set fee for that, so that most of those people like that it's their first appearance, and it covers that just to make sure you kind of walk them through, and then some cases get resolved right there, some go on, and
right.
They may get a separate attorney, but yeah. But that's good to know that it actually works like it's supposed to.
Right, yeah. Yep.
Okay. Lance, thanks so much for coming tonight, and we appreciate the information you've helped us with.
Great.
And I think we're pretty much done. I want to again thank our County Administrator, Corsa Comfrey, for joining us virtually. I know he's been quite busy with other things right now, and he'd like to be here. But don't forget, folks, we are going to do this again tomorrow night. And we have 5 presentations tomorrow night, and let's see what happens. I think we'll adjourn for now.
Ooh, nature's